O'Reilly. You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
I guess I grew up on an older road.
Hey, everybody! It's episode 131. Phil is mouthing the number of the episode because I always forget. But here we are. It's a wonderful Monday. You'll be listening to this on Tuesday, but it's Monday. It's the day after Father's Day. Phil, how was your Father's Day, buddy?
Oh, it was nice. It was nice. I heard Bozeman got rain. Did Bozeman get rain yesterday?
A little bit. I mean, the spritz. Where were you?
I'm a little bit outside of town. We didn't get any rain.
Oh, neither did I.
Okay.
Okay, you live in the hills.
Nah.
No. What'd your kids get you?
They got me like a backyard patio bar.
Oh, that's telling, Phil.
It's supposed to be like a tiki bar. It's not made out of bamboo and it doesn't have like thatch wood or anything, but it has kind of like, it's like this slated wood. It's nice.
They're like, Dad,
it's gonna be fun.
Dad, you're an alcoholic. Yeah.
Do
it outside. Do it outside. Keep this outside.
I'm not gonna lie, that thought went through my head. But I appreciate it.
Well, that's good. I just got a card and a cool picture frame, which I'm gonna put on my desk. And then I just kind of drank all day.
Nice.
Did some yard work. It was very suburban of me, and I liked it. So don't judge. Phil got a nice haircut.
Hey, thanks, man.
Shout out to, where'd you go?
Harris Salon in Bozeman, Montana.
All right.
Check them out.
Not a sponsor, but they did a great job on your hair.
Yeah.
Joe's getting married.
Getting married.
Saturday.
On Saturday.
Oh, it's happening.
It's happening.
Wow. He's a little dry-mouthed right now because he had a little impromptu bachelor party this weekend.
Yep. Drank a lot. I spent my Father's Day throwing up while driving.
Yeah.
That sounds safe. That's fine.
Most fathers' dream.
Well, I was the passenger in the car.
Oh, okay.
And I kept having my buddy Ty pull over. I was like, Ty, it's coming up again. You gotta pull over, buddy.
One of these weeks we'll have a full recap of Joe's wedding. But Joe, are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous.
You're not nervous?
I'm excited.
You're excited?
Yeah. Gonna have some fun. I'm not gonna drink as much as I did this week.
Are we going to social distance at this wedding?
If you want to. It's available.
It's available.
It's available.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just walk 6 feet that
Go
way.
over there.
It's all outside. There's proper precautions
Well,
for those who feel like it is necessary.
From here at THC, congratulations on your pending nuptials. Even Calvin.
Yeah, it's going to be
a
great.
round of applause. Phil will put a sound effect in there or something.
Yeah.
No, he won't.
That was good enough.
He's getting late. He's getting late.
Thanks, Phil.
On us.
Thought you liked me.
As a wedding gift, we're going to give you 5% off THC merch in the Meat Eater store.
Oh,
wow.
yes.
Hold on. I just got an email. We can only offer 3.
3%.
Okay.
You can get.
It's good enough.
There's,
I'll take it.
Yeah, you can wear a shirt.
Probably won't.
A cup. A hat.
I could wear
We
it.
got a lot of shit. Yeah, we got a lot of shit. All right, well, we got to get to a lot of things. We have Carter, Mark Carter, coming
That
up
guy.
here. That guy.
He's a great guy.
What a wonderful guy. We're going to talk a little bit about cancel culture before we get to him. But we're not going to it's a long interview, so we're going to try to work through some of these emails and then get to him. But trust me, I feel that it's one of the best interviews we've ever done. And so please stick around for it. We're not going to give you we're not going to preface it with much other than like it will stand alone, and you should spend the time, roughly, 2 hours? Did you look at it, Phil? It's like 2 hours.
It's about 2 hours.
About 2 hours.
I thought it was pushing 3.
It was a long time.
Was it long?
We spent about 20 minutes bullshitting prior to.
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time.
So it's been a 2-hour conversation. Hopefully you enjoy it. I know you will.
Listen to the whole thing.
Please
it's worth it.
listen to the entire thing. But we got lots of emails to get to. But before we do that, guess what's back, Phil?
I know, but I'm going to pretend that I don't. What's back, Ben?
Is it like Dole? Something Dole? Like Dole moments?
Nope. Not so sharp moments. Oh, my God. I'm excited. It's back. Play the jingle.
Work sharp, not so sharp moments. Sharp so you don't have to be. Season 2. Yeah.
All right, Work Sharp, Not So Sharp Moments is back. Thanks again to Work Sharp. Work Sharp has a pretty cool series of videos on their website now teaching you how to sharpen knives. You're going to need that at some point, trust me. But we were going to have a debate about this Not So Sharp moment. This came in unfettered. We did not ask for it. People have been sending in Not So Sharp moments. People have been doing dumb shit since we last checked in with Not So Sharp moments. And you've all been sending them to me. So I've logged them in a folder. So we have some. But this is your chance. If you're listening to this now and you have a Not So Sharp moment, we're going to do this for the rest of the year, all through the fall. So if you do something stupid, write it down, be creative, and send it in to us. But you have to tell the truth, Phil. Right?
You should.
You can't make it up.
No.
We're not going to know. This one that I'm about to read, I read it a little bit ago and discussed it with Joe.
Do you have your doubts?
I have my doubts about its validity.
Yeah, sure.
Whether it's true or not. And if it is true, it's not so sharp to the maximum. Like it's the least sharp thing I've ever heard.
Wow.
Which is maybe what we're after.
We're setting the bar high though for the first moment of the season.
I kind of just want to skip to the end because everything else just anyway. I digress. I should read it to you. This is from Ashley. I don't know if I want to even say her last name.
Don't do it.
For her sake, don't.
I'm Ashley, and it's spelled ASHLEIGH.
When you said "and it's spelled like,"
yep,
I knew you were going to say that. Now I'm very upset.
Now you're upset. Now you've upset Phil, Ashley.
Ashley, he would prefer you to spell your name like a normal Ashley.
Ashley,
That's right.
No, that was the first clue that something was amiss when I saw the spelling of Ashley. But anyway,
You're like, it's already fake.
her name is Ashley. She's not a hunter, but she respects and admires hunters. She doesn't mind getting her hands dirty if her boyfriend, who does hunt, needs an extra set of hands. She's a huge fan of the podcast and the show and everything else that we do. And she listens on her drive. So right now, she does like to go fishing and camping and go outside exploring. You're going to need to know that for what comes next. I'm going to do my best to work through this. Do we have like a background music? No. Nothing. Okay.
Nope.
We need it with this one.
I just mean there's more pressure on you to put a lot of life into this.
To deliver it.
Yes.
Okay. Ashley says, I've got 5 kids and I try to raise them right and instill a love of the outdoors every chance I get. I'm also stubborn as an ox, and I've been fortunate enough to have my middle son inherit that particular trait from me. I'm a big fan of letting my kids learn the hard way, provided it's safe to do so. So, of course, when my middle son was 8, he decided he didn't have to listen to me anymore because he was going to walk out into the woods and live on his own. Did you ever have that notion when you were a young man, Phil?
Not at all. I'm a coward.
You're just going to go Christopher McCandless and just live in a van. I naturally decided to let him plan a 3-day camping trip, including choosing what to pack, but he could only pack what he could carry. Kid had no real money, but I'm determined that he has to learn how hard you have to work to get things you need, so he earned Monopoly money by doing chores for other family members over the course of a few weeks, and I had amassed a selection of hiking and camping gear for him to purchase before our trip out. Picking this up, Phil?
Mm-hmm.
Feeling comfortable?
Yep.
All right, well, hang on. He could only take what he could purchase, and I would only pack my own bag with similar items. We were driven 2 hours out and dropped off at the trailhead in the morning with a rendezvous point and pickup time established. So far, pretty sharp.
Seems great.
Pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Learning lessons.
Going well.
About 5 miles in, I realize I lost my phone, and thus our map and our ability to call for early extraction should something go wrong. Now, I just want to make it as I was reading this, I'm like, well, this is the time where you turn around and go back out.
Hey, you're not that far in.
5 miles in. What are you doing 5 miles in anyway?
Get some exercise.
Okay. At this point, all I could do was keep track of what turns we were making and head for the lake. I don't know what lake this is, but hopefully it's an easy one to find, and try to catch some dinner. We found a good spot by the lake, but I had failed to realize that the path we had turned down led to a lake in a recent burn area, not the lake that was several miles in the opposite direction, surrounded by all the berry bushes and shade trees we could have asked for. So now you're at the wrong lake. Mm-hmm. There's no shade, no food to be had. So she said, I call a break to rest and go relieve myself. Normally this story would go in that direction. It would have all to do with relieving oneself.
Sure,
but
classic not so
classic
sharp.
not so sharp moment. When I return to my son, I find that he has burned every one of our matches trying to start a fire with a stick. Tired, hungry, and irritated, I realize if we're going to make it to the other lake, we need to eat something. All we had packed were life straws, fishing poles, and survival tabs because the kid decided he could make it on his own, and I conceded that we could survive on the tabs as well as hopefully catching some fish, gathering berries, and morels. I go to pull out the survival tabs only to find that he had eaten all of them during the hike and while I was answering nature's call. Now I've got a handful of morels, no berries, and a fishing pole, and realize we're not going to hike to the other lake without any food, so I set out to fish. I'm fishing for hours, not catching a damn thing, getting hungrier every minute. A random hiker came along asking if we minded if he set up camp near us and if we had any water, as he had made the bright decision himself to hike out 10 miles to camp for 2 days and it only brought a liter of water. Where are you? Like in the dumbest piece of timber ever? Like, who? Water filter? Anybody? You're by a lake. Lord almighty, it gets worse, though. It gets worse. Together, we made a fairly decent ragtag group of idiots in the woods.
Well, at least you're self-aware.
Self-aware.
Yes,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
That's what matters.
There's no way you could type that out and not make that mention. We had 2 life straws, so I traded a life straw for a hand at fishing, and the guest wound up catching the only 3 fish that were caught that weekend. My son managed to decapitate a garter snake with his machete, so we cleaned that and ate that as well. If you can even call that eating. They ate a garter snake. Okay? On the hike out, we passed a couple hiking in, and I asked if they happened to have a granola bar to spare, and they gave me a pack of Cliff Blocks, which I devoured, and of course promptly. Let me pause here. Cliff Blocks. You guys know what those are?
Yeah, they're chewy little energy blocks.
Chewy little energy blocks.
I love them. They're always going in my pack.
So I actually devoured them, and of course, she says, of course. I don't know why this would be an of course. Promptly regurgitated them into a puddle of still perfectly formed gummies and water. The only other thing that was in my stomach. She forgets the garter snake. I'm not one.
And the 3 fish?
And the 3 fish. I'm not one to waste, so I rinsed those suckers off and ate them again. Dramatic pause. You guys picturing this?
Yeah. Ashley's got problems.
All on our floor, just puking into the dirt and then just scooping them up.
I need the calories.
The great news is they stayed down the second time.
This is rough.
So thank God. It gets worse. This is
Go home, Ashley, with a G.
and an H.
An H.
By the trailhead, we found 3 McDonald's chicken nuggets on the ground.
Yes.
You want to guess what happens next? And I
She ate 'em.
shit you not, they were the best thing I had ever eaten up to that moment in my life.
Oh, I mean, I can imagine like a beam of light coming down from the clouds shining on the chicken nuggets.
Sure. Moral of the story is, can't wait for this one. Don't let your 8-year-old plan a camping trip. It's a not so sharp decision. Play the jingle, Phil!
Work sharp, not so sharp moments. Sharp so you don't have to be. Season 2! Yeah!
Well, that's a good way to start season 2. I hope that's not true.
That sounds believable to me.
It sounds believable. When I first
Sure.
read it, I'm like, there's no way.
There's so much detail in there, and I think that's true. And I'm sorry, Ashley.
I'm sorry too. I'm sorry to this unnamed 8-year-old boy
Yeah.
who had learned what valuable lesson he learned. If you puke it up, you can eat it. Depends on how much you chewed it.
Sounded like he was doing great. He's like, I got this snake. I'm gonna eat it.
Oh yeah.
He was having a hard time starting a fire, but he sounded like a trooper.
Yeah,
you know?
so he ate a garter snake.
Yeah, he's like, I got this.
He made probably a lifelong friend in that gentleman that they met in the woods.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, that sets a high bar for season 2 of Not So Sharp Moments. Please write us at thc@themeateater.com. Let us know all the stupid things you're doing outside. Please, not too long.
Not too short.
Just right.
Just right.
And be creative, but be truthful. Okay, now we got a bunch of more really fun emails to read. This one is another one of my favorites. Now, I gotta say, man, like the THC email account is the thing that keeps me going, Joe. It just keeps me.
Really, because the Meat Eater account is what keeps me down.
Well, that shows you hopefully, like the fact that way less people listen to this podcast keeps it insulated.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the point.
That's the idea. We don't want, if you're out there and you're new listening, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Keep listening if you want, but we're trying to keep this thing small.
Ben, I am not sure about this marketing campaign.
Oh, okay.
You got going right now.
Crap. Last week we talked about our liberal hunter friend. What was his name? Chad.
Yeah.
Was it Chad?
Liberal hunters of
Or was
North
it
America?
CJ? No, it was Chad.
I think it was Chad.
think it was Chad.
All
Yes,
Chads.
Chad.
Oh, I love Chads. Most Chads. Anyway, this guy, Martin Resnick, writes in. He says, I'll try to jump through this a little bit for time's sake. Adult Onset Hunter, longtime listener. He says, I've done all the things dopey city folks do with too much money and no experience. I bought slick matching camo systems, read bad information on the internet, and I haven't killed shit save a rabbit. I love that line. Keep going. It's fine. I get it. I'm unintentionally the butt of almost every hunting personality's jokes, except, of course, yours. I love that you try to reach public lands communists like me, and after years of listening to your show, I don't doubt your good intentions. But at the same time, I'm still a demographic, and my ratio of dollars spent at first light to big game kills is undefined. Seeing as you can't divide by 0, but also embarrassingly since the numerator here is so high. So I have never quite been able to shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, there's a vague whiff of pandering to people like me without genuine acceptance. So he thinks we're pandering to him.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much this show's about pandering to everybody. Like if you're out there, we'll pander to you.
Pander.
But just don't listen too much because then we'll get too big. For me, the show is kind of like mayonnaise. Once I get past the vaguely suspicious odor, it's delicious.
Man, this guy, we're on the same wavelength.
Is this you, Phil? Did you write this shit?
Oh, man.
You don't have.
You make up a false
He's just
identity.
putting into words what I've been thinking for months.
You don't have First Light, though. I won't allow you to have that. You got to pay for it. That is, and now here's where it goes. That is until episode 130 when you finally gave us liberals the shit-talking trolling we deserve. I actually feel more part of the community, and not just part of a valuable audience. A little mockery is the most valuable kind of recognition. It is nice to know that THC believes that people like me are relevant enough to tease, but can be counted on to not simply go away if we get huffy and offended. Thank you. I mean it. I don't have a liberal hunter Facebook page, and I have made some friends locally who can help me out, but finding partners and mentors really is not easy when you come from way outside the culture. He also says he hoped to win the New Zealand hunt with me,
But he didn't.
so he could, on the plane ride over there, he could explain to me that I'm not a stoic and that Ryan Holiday is deeply misguided. But anyway, he's got like some he's like jabbing. I like
good.
this guy.
I like it.
I like
We made a joke about liberals, and now he's like, I'm in.
Him and I would get along. I feel like me and him, an East Coast liberal guy.
We'll see, but he's obviously not liberal because he made the joke that...
Yeah, Martin, if you were liberal, you'd be offended.
Yeah, he'd be offended and running away, so
Yeah.
he's obviously not liberal.
Stop faking it, you liberal bastard. Get it together. Tofu never caused a pandemic. Let me show you this, Phil. This is a billboard by PETA. Tofu never caused a pandemic.
Good for them.
They've got a
they
point.
did it.
And the list of things that never caused a pandemic, tofu is on it.
Wow. I mean, I'm trying to think about like how effective. I mean, let's like put aside how stupid that billboard is for a second. But like, how effective do you think that like messaging like that is?
Well, some people drove by and were like, yeah.
Well, it's like, do you know what the takeaway from like this global pandemic is? No more meat. We should like, is that kind of? I mean, I wonder how many people honestly think that. Probably like a decent amount.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Amanda Atkinson wrote in and she wanted to show us this because I certainly, if I had seen it, I'd have pulled over and, of course, taken a picture and probably made some sort of snarky post about it on the internet. But she said, I love listening to THC. Since you have discussed veganism, factory farms, animal rights, meat substitutes, etc., I thought I'd share this billboard that I saw the other day on my way home from work. I live in central Indiana, which is really, I feel like, the target region for PETA. What's PETA doing in Indiana? None of their people are there. That's all our people there. Mm-hmm. Get out of there. A lot of
cows.
Get out of there.
Get out of there.
Get out of there. The first time I saw it, I had to do a double take. Like, what the fuck? Did I just read what I thought I read? There are so many things I could say about the message here, and I find it particularly hilarious because I'm a registered dietitian who hunts and eats meat. I don't know if you can see who sponsored the billboard in the picture. We did. It's PETA. But like I said, I could make a ton of comments on how messed up this message is. For instance, yeah, tofu never caused a pandemic, but tell me the last time that any sort of wild game did either. Could you imagine the backlash that would probably be caused if Cabela's, for some irony, there is a Cabela's at the exit just south of where this billboard is, put up a billboard that said venison never caused a pandemic with a picture of a whitetail and try it in November. Not to mention the overall fear of animal products that they are trying to instill in people. As a registered dietitian, I spend my days treating people who struggle with eating disorders, trying to help them heal from food guilt/fear. So when I see shit like this, it just makes me crazy. That's what she wrote.
I like her.
I really like her too.
I want to be her friend. What's her name?
Her name's Amanda.
Amanda.
Is that with a G?
That's with 3 H's and a G. Amanda. I did Google this marketing campaign from PETA, and it looks like they have these billboards up in California. Big surprise there. Iowa and Nebraska.
Obviously.
Of course, the article that comes up when you Google this is also filled with flawed logic and guilt trips. She included the link for us, which I will click now. But I imagine what it says. Reality check. Reality check, Phil. Tofu never caused a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when was the last pandemic? People would say it was like 1918.
Spanish flu.
Yes, I'm sure. I don't think tofu was being. I mean, like, how long has tofu been a product?
Yay! I don't know.
That's a great
I don't know. I
question,
should look that up.
I think since we were lower hominids when we became. Look that up, Joe.
Well, like soy, of course, has been around. Like I don't know.
PETA will be happy when the U.S. meat shortage is solved, but not by the reopening of slaughterhouses, by millions of individuals' decisions to ditch meat altogether. After all, eating animals and slaughtering them in filthy wet markets and on factory farms. I love how they made that leap. They're like, those wet markets and those factory farms in small town rural America.
You were really wrong, Phil. Like, really
It's probably very old, isn't it?
It's incredibly old.
Oh, wow.
Over 2,000 years ago.
Wow. Well,
Wow.
I'm on PETA's side.
Yeah, I just turned Phil. That was easy. I love wet
Get out
markets.
of here, Phil.
This is my favorite, maybe one of my favorite sentences of all time. After all, eating animals and slaughtering them in filthy wet markets and on factory farms gave us this pandemic and lots of other viruses, including avian flu, swine flu, MERS, and SARS. So, hey, you know what our saying here is on THC? Never let a good crisis go to waste. Congratulations, PETA. You did your best. And you're marketing to idiots. Back to your point, Phil. Anybody who drives by this and goes, yeah, is an idiot, I feel. Do you agree?
Yeah, misinformed. I'm going to be polite.
Thanks for being. You're always the voice of reason, Phil. All right. Well, listen. I had a bunch of other emails I wanted to read, but we have such a long interview this week. It's such an important one that we're not going to get into that. But listen, what you're about to listen to, as I said earlier, is a very important conversation. His name's Mark Carter. He's a snowboarder, professional snowboarder. He's made many, many of the most famous snowboarding films out there. He's a man that loves adventure. He's a man that loves regenerative agriculture. and he's a salt of the earth, I would say, rancher from Ten Sleep, Wyoming. But there's another side of this story, and this is a story that he's not told in the public sphere in this way to this point. So stick in for all of that. One of my favorites. We had a good time hunting. So you're going to hear about that right now. Enjoy Mark Carter. Mark Carter, how are you, sir?
Howdy. Great.
Welcome to the Meat Eater Studio.
Hey.
How's
Thanks for having me.
You know, I tell you, since this is only an ear situation, it's only a listening engagement. Could you describe the studio for people in your best prose? Like, just this is your first time in here. It's first time
I'd
seeing
say
this.
it's very curated.
Yeah.
There's some nice photography, which I really enjoy. I really like the essence of the community within this building. They all have a little picture, and then lots of some horns. The ladies smoking something. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know where. You know anything about that, Joe?
I have no idea.
Where that comes from?
Nope.
It
No
looks
clue.
like that's smoke,
But it's
Yeah.
art.
Yeah.
It's art.
No, it's art. And I
She's
like
definitely
the buffler there and
Getting after stuff.
Yeah, it's
So you-
it's comfortable. I feel
feel
very
comfortable?
I feel so comfortable within these walls. Like,
Thank
I feel
you.
like I could say anything.
That's right. Now, here's what I'm gonna have to start with a disclaimer. We just spent a couple days in hunting camp, and you guys know how hunting camp goes. Things get said, jokes are made, we laugh. It's not all appropriate for the air, and so the challenge over the next however long we record is to keep the two worlds separate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Think so?
They can trickle a little, but I
They
think with
can-
the humor, but there's, just
We're telling stories.
PG-13.
here. We're telling stories. We're telling
we
stories.
got lots of stories here.
Joe Farinato's here.
Yes, sir.
Joe, we just got back from bear camp. We're still smelly
Very.
all the way around.
Yep.
Didn't see a bear.
No bears.
The story, Joe's basic story is that he took us to his hot spot. Like
Where I killed my bear.
where he killed his bear, the hottest of spots.
Yeah.
Would you, how would you say, in fuego, fire spot? Like, how would you describe this spot? Like, in your mind, there were bears, so like hundreds of bears, herds of them.
Not herds. I wouldn't say that. In my mind, it was like it was a prime spot. Good country everywhere.
Everywhere we went, good country.
You were able to move fairly easily throughout the country. It was a spot where I was like, we'll go there. We might not, get a bear, but at least we'll have an opportunity. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I think you might be lying. I think you said to me, we're going to get it. Like, we're going to see some bears.
I may have
Something
said
like
that.
that.
I was very confident.
I was under the impression we were going to see bears.
I was very confident.
Mark drove here from Ten Sleep, Wyoming
did.
to
Yeah.
see a bear.
Hey, man. It was good. It was good.
It was good. We're just going to give you shit throughout this whole...
I just wanted
that
to
is
hang
fine.
out with you guys, man.
Yeah. We did some hanging.
That's usually why I'm here, Ben, to take the shit.
That's right.
There's long walks and just
Dude,
nice
long walks.
naps in the beautiful mountain wildflowers. and
So,
such.
yeah.
Wind.
Joe's hotspot, we didn't see any bears, but we did see... Well, you guys saw wolves yesterday. That's
Yeah.
a highlight of
That was the
somebody's
highlight, I
outdoor
think, just sitting there
experience.
watching those wolves.
How many wolves? Was it 5?
There was 5 of them.
Dude, that's...
5 wolves.
You don't
I've
often
never
see
seen
5 wolves together.
man. They just they move like ghosts, right?
They do.
That was so cool.
They just kind of passing by some elk.
Yeah, those elk, I mean, they were aware, but that was about the only predator we saw. Just to reiterate, we didn't see any bears.
Didn't see any bears.
We saw wolves, though.
So
We went to Joe's hotspot. Didn't see
Yeah,
any
hot
bears.
spot, bear hot spot.
But we did see a
Right.
big black predator, like a black bear. So
That's true. That's true. That's
no, it was
halfway there.
close.
We
Yeah,
saw
there
a
was
lot of-
the big black wolf,
Yeah,
the white one, and then 3 little gray ones.
that's cool. That's
that
cool.
was-
We saw a lot of elk.
Lots
A lot
of
of elk.
How many elk do you think we saw? 500 elk? 500 elk?
I don't think we saw 500. That's ridiculous.
That's a bit of an
We saw
Here's
like
a- 100?
maybe 80.
80?
I think 80.
Okay. I was way off.
Maybe less.
Maybe less than that.
But I mean, you can
sticking
times
with-
them times 2 right now, so you might be close.
Yeah, that's how I tend to tell stories. We saw 10 wolves, 160 elk.
Yeah, it's like Hollywood, man.
We saw lots of deer, lots of mule deer.
lots of deer.
Oh, I saw a
Ooh,
fox.
The fox.
The fox was legit. Like a black tail and a black face. The
grouse?
White spatches. We saw a lot of grouse.
A lot of grouse. Great grouse spot.
So good hunt. We were saying around the fire last night, Mark and I, the best hunts are the ones where you absolutely enjoy yourself, even though you were miserably unsuccessful. That is the key.
Well, I think, just not having expectations is, I kind of always go into any situation, just no expectations. Like, what's it going to give me? Like, what's it going to offer? And you just take what it gives you and enjoy it. And it's like, just getting to hang out with you guys and talk smack and laugh. I think it's such an important thing to, it's like everybody's kind of been locked down. So like to get out with some good guys and go for a walk and laugh and just be social.
This is the first time I hunted with somebody that wasn't from Montana for months.
Yeah.
It felt good. I'm
not gonna lie to you. It felt good.
Felt real good. What else? I mean, like I said, we hunted a day and a half basically.
Yeah,
but nowadays for me especially, I know for you too, Mark, we're going to get into all that you do because I discovered over the last day and a half that you do more than anyone I've almost ever known.
Yeah.
Do a lot of shit.
Do some things and stuff.
Do some things. We're going to talk about all of it.
Things. A little bit here and there.
But, the limited time we get out, the country that we live in is some of the most beautiful country in the world. I mean, we were inundated everywhere we went with beautiful parks and meadows, green grass, bright green chartreuse grass, and big ridges, snow-covered peaks, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it was easy on the eyes.
It was easy,
real easy on the eyes. Good energy too. Like I think certain areas, certain mountains, you definitely like feel the energy of the place you're in, and that place was very inviting.
Yeah,
there was never like even walking at dark. It was like, well, I knew we weren't going to see any bears, so
we weren't scared of grizzlies.
I wasn't worried about running into a bear, so I was like, got Joe with us. Let him lead the charge.
Yeah, he gar-holed us anyway. The most beautiful gar-hole. That's what we're going to call it.
Gar-hole? Beautiful gar-hole.
That's what we're going to call this episode, the most beautiful gar-hole. But it was good, man.
Prime habitat for bears that didn't have bears.
And that's like the moral of this podcast really is especially since I moved to Montana, is we don't always kill shit. But we have a good time.
It's called hunting.
It's called hunting. It ain't called killing.
Mm-mm.
Not ever.
Well, I think it's experience, man. Like, honestly, for me and anything that I do in my endeavors is experience, It's like it would have been great to elevate the experience with maybe like getting on something and hunting, and obviously that's exhilarating, but just being out there and walking around and just, really getting with the pace of nature and slowing it down, and no cell phones, just like focused on the task at hand, and just talking about real things.
Yeah,
is super important.
Those
are the things I remember. I mean, like, there's been so many like amazing events in my life, and not to like, wow, I'm the man, but like I have a lot of exhilarating things just like from my job and my career. But like the things I really remember are the things that really matter, and it was those experiences with those people that I've traveled the world with or been in these amazing places. And it's not even about like the biggest mountains or the most amazing days, like getting footage or whatever. It's just about like that experience with those people. We all got to like share that, and it's really important.
I'll tell you, like over the last couple of days, we've been talking about life, telling stories. You've heard a lot of my stories.
Yeah.
Sheila, Guthrie, everybody. I've heard about everybody. You know a lot about me now.
I do.
The deep, dark corners of my life, and I heard a lot of your stories. And like when we get to talking about things and lining up on ideas, we've kind of this show has kind of circled around some things like hunting for the experience, regenerative agriculture, how we eat, how we move through the world, how we philosophically look at like our interaction with nature, and like most of what you have said and how you talk and how you speak and the things that are important to you and the priorities for your life and how you shape your worldview. We didn't pick it out this way. I just wanted to talk to you because I knew you were an interesting dude.
Yeah.
But like listen to you talk, I think everybody that listens to this show, me personally, I'm sure Joe as well. It's like the way that you approach things is, to me, important for people to hear.
Yeah, I just I think an open mind is really important in approaching things in an open mind, and just letting things happen. I just think I really try to never force anything. I think just like work hard, but be open to like what your surroundings are. And I think just like I bring that from the mountains and like what I do in the winter and navigating, and it's like can be a pretty hazardous environment, and you can never force things and never just like have expectations, and because it's such an emotional up and down, because it's all based upon Mother Nature. And so when I kind of try to approach everything like that with just open and like listening to what's going around me, and then try to respond rather than react, and sometimes keeping the emotions out of it and just kind of like reacting or responding to situations. And man, I think you just be kind, be good to people.
No, and you seem like you do a lot. Like you seem like you're not afraid to jump in both feet into whatever. I mean, we get into all the things. I can't even remember all the things. You're like, oh yeah, I deal with these folks and these folks and these folks. You told me that you had a motel and 10 sleep.
Yeah, a little motel, the Carter Inn. Yeah, my mom. Yeah, so it's one of those things where I'm in business with everyone in my family. Yeah. They're like, whoa, you can test your patience when you're in business with maybe one person, but I love my family. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's great, and it's an amazing experience. I've always grown up working next to my family, but my mom. We bought this motel like 10 years ago in 10 Sleep, and she wanted to do it, and I was like, hey, I'm down. Like I'll invest in whatever handyman work I can do it. Like, let's do this, Ma. And then in the beginning I cleaned some rooms. Like we were pretty short staffed, and she's a go getter. Like every day, all day work. And now my sister manages the place, so it's like a family affair for sure. But in the beginning, like cleaning rooms, but I was so bad at it that like she wouldn't let me do it anymore. Like I was all right cleaning, but like making beds, she's like, no. You're done. And I was like, oh, poor me.
Something to be bad at.
Yeah, something to be bad at. But it was good because I don't really want to like make beds.
Well, like another thing that as we talk about like how you think about things and approach things, because like you're a successful man, done a lot, doing a lot. Growing up, you grew up 10 Sleep, Wyoming.
Yes, sir.
40,000 acre ranch.
Yes, sir.
Roughly.
Purchased
by your grandfather.
Yep. So it's been with my brother's kids. It's 4 generations.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing place there on the western slope of the Bighorns.
Describe that thing, because I know you have. I'm sure have a lot of affinity for.
Yeah, I mean, 10 Sleep's. That's my comfort zone. That's where I was born and raised on that ranch. And I think I give so much of my the way I was shaped and my character from just growing up on a ranch. And obviously, my dad was a pretty hard ass, and he worked as hard, and he had sons, so he had like help, and I get it. Like I get it now. I was like, I don't want to dig that hole. Like he's like, you dig the hole. So he taught us that from a very young age. We were always shorthanded to work hard, but that really molded a lot of things. You're always like, Dad, you're such a dick. But it really was amazing growing up that way, because now I look back and I'm like, oh, no, he understood what life was going to be, and he was just getting me ready. He was like, oh, you can take a beating. But just growing up, I think that close to nature, we didn't have TV, outside was like my creative space. That was like everything to me, grabbing a little 22 and running down the creek. I fished every day. We had like this beautiful 10 Sleep Creek ran right through the property. And then, all the ranch was connected all the way up the slope of the Bighorn. So I grew up just kind of running wild like a coyote. And, if we were around the house, like there was always, like every morning you had to get up early, like no matter what. Like if there was anything going on, like Dad was like, it didn't even matter if you were getting up, like, let's go, and so that's still kind of ingrained in my head. I have anxiety if I sleep past 7. That's fine. But I think just growing up within the dirt and just being part of that, it just really molded what I wanted to do. At a young age, I was like, I want to be a mountain man. I had no idea. I saw like Davy Crockett. I was like, I want to be a mountain man. But like, it's funny because now I like look at my life and I've like molded it to be.
Yeah.
I'm not like a mountain man, but I am like kind of a mountain man in my career and everything that I've chosen to like, put my energy into. But, and I think my career longevity within snowboarding has been because there is a balance, because I spend my winters in Jackson Hole, and then I spend my summers in 10 Sleep. And that really gives me this balance, because Jackson is a wonderful place, but it's not really like, it's not 10 Sleep. It's not, people aren't like, struggling to survive and working every day in like super blue collar. There is within that, but it's kind of a little hidden behind the scenes in Jackson. But up in 10 Sleep, it's up front. So I always made it a point to come home every summer and help my family and like ingrain myself within that community. And just, man, people work hard to survive. Like, and, when you're working hard to survive, you really don't have time for a lot other things, like, unnecessary banter or whatever. But it's like that really, I was always made it a point to be accepted by that community every time I came back, and not just be like, oh, look at Carter over here, like, doing his thing, traveling, being a pro snowboarder. And I was like, they didn't even know, like, until like recently, like nobody really understood like what pro snowboarding was. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, like.
I snowboard, they film it.
Well, coming from there, that wasn't even like an option. Like nobody went out and like chased that. Like unattainable dream. It was kind of an unattainable thing, but I was like, at a young age, I was like, well, why would I put my energy into something I don't want to do because, I'm supposed to conform to this like mold. I'm going to go like put all my energy into something that I want to do. And I think it just came with like not being afraid to fail. I think that's what holds people back. It's like, man, I know what it is to fail. Snowboarding, like you learn. I'm not the best snowboarder in the world, like by any means, but I like know how to wreck really good. You got to learn how to wreck. So when you have the confidence, you're like, okay, if I like, you have something lined up you want to hit or ride a line, you're like, okay, if I wreck here, like I'm gonna be okay. Like I got that. Well, then you have the confidence to just kind of go for it. Yeah. And I think it's just I kind of try to take that into life. Is like, man, like all the failures that I've had have really. I mean, those were all a blessing in some way, shape, or form because you learn from that. And I think just moving forward, and something my dad told me when I was about 18, and he was hard on us. There wasn't a lot of like, how are you feeling today? What do you guys want to do? It's like, he was running a big ranch and he was by himself. He had us boys, and so we were expected to pull our weight. We worked hard. I mean, cattle battles like these. Moving, 600 head of cattle with, my dad on a horse that was bucking the whole day because he was always riding rank stuff. And then my little brother or my big brother and I just like getting it done. And there was no other option than to get the job done. There wasn't like, well, didn't work. I guess we'll just try to. No, there was like, dude, we got to get this done. Like when you're responsible for livestock and animals it's so important. Like there's no quitting. So you just have to find a solution. And I think that, my dad, like back to that when I was 18, he's like, I dropped out of college because I like thought I was gonna be like, I was like, yeah, college. That's what everybody told you. And I got I got a football scholarship, and I was like, oh shit, sweet, maybe I'll. And it wasn't a big football scholarship, it was whatever. It gave me an excuse. I thought I was pretty cool. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I was like, I don't even know who I was then, but I dropped out. I mean, I lasted like a semester, and I just did not. I wanted to fish, and and he just told me, he's like, Mark, if you know how to work hard, you'll always be okay. And I was like, damn, all right. Well, I took so much like comfort and security in that. I was like, no matter what I do, like if I fail, like I'll just get some other job and I'll work and I'll build it back up. And it was just like, it gave me this real security to just kind of go for it. And I always had the backing of the ranch, like if I failed, like I could always come back to the ranch and work and like make a living or whatever life that may be. But so it really like, I give the ranch and my dad and my mom a lot of credit for that, like ingraining that work ethic and like just kind of like go for it. And in the beginning, they weren't like super supportive. My mom always was down.
That's what I was going to ask.
But my dad was like,
what's your dad say?
My dad's just like,
I'm going to snowboard.
What's your deal? Like, you working? Because I mean, that's how they base like success. You work hard and it's not necessarily bank account in my opinion. I think it's really like, what's your quality of life? And like, you only need so much. And I think when you like take on all these things, I've just learned to like, just take on what I can handle. Like, don't overextend myself. I'm real careful about not like overextending myself. And then I start getting stressed or like too many obligations. I'll just like pull back and be like, yo, like, this is what I can do. This is the amount of energy I have. And this is what I'm going to focus on. And man, I can't complain, man. I love my life.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
When did your dad turn? Like, when did it, like, is there a time where he was like, I get it now? Or like, I see what you're doing at least. Like, there was a vision.
Yeah, I was about, and I was a late bloomer because most people in the whole like trajectory of pro snowboarder, especially during that time, was like, if you weren't like sponsored by 18 and grinding and like, coming up in the ranks or whatever, it was a totally different world than you're kind of old. Like by the time you were 30, you were kind of like late 20s or washed up snowboard. Like it was kind of done. So the template was different. And I dropped in late because during high school, I was in tent sleep. I was focused on football. I wasn't even snowboarding because our little resort that I'd learned at, Metal Arc, it was shut down. So I kind of like lost my path, but I needed purpose. So football was like took that place. And I was like, I did the college and then I worked for a year and I was like, man, I just want to go snowboarding. Like, what am I doing? So I didn't even started pursuing this till I was like 21. And I actually moved to Bozeman when I was 20.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I moved to Bozeman. So my grandfather my dad grew up in Bridger Canyon.
Yeah, you told me that. Little shack up there.
Yeah, little shack up there. And so him and his 10 brothers and sisters grew up in Bridger Canyon. So he always had these stories about Bridger Canyon. My grandpa did a bunch of logging up there and just the hunting and like the bears and just like it sounded like the Wild West. And so when I decided that, I was like, I'm gonna work for a year on the ranch hard right after college, and then I'm gonna just dip out and go snowboard for a whole season and just see, like eat ramen and just be poor and be a dirtbag and live on the floor and make it happen. And I was like trying to pick places to come, and I was like, well, Bozeman, man, like I find some comfort because my dad had been here. I was like, oh, it's kind of close to tent sleep. Like I can do that. That's a big move. So I came up, started riding here, and I ended up spending I never spent a summer, but I spent 2 winters riding Bridger, just kind of like and I hadn't snowboarded in like 4 or 5 years. So all my gear was like outdated. And I was going to, there's a shop here in Bozeman called World Boards. And I would go in there and like when I had enough money, I'd buy some bindings, and I got boots, and I upgraded my kit. And I was like, man, the technology's kind of come a long way. This is sick. And then my buddy Dan and Justin, they came up from Jackson, and they were like, hey, you should come to Jackson this spring, like after you leave Bozeman. I mean, I literally lived on an air mattress, and I could move in my 1999 Grand Am. I could throw all my gear in my 1990 Grand Am in like an hour and be on the road. Like that was my life. And so I planned on going back to tent sleep, and then I ended up in Jackson, and I just spent a couple days there, and I was like, dude, what have I been doing? Like I grew up in Wyoming my whole life. I had heard about Jackson, but I didn't even know this like mountain existed. These mountains existed because I never went over there because it was like, we didn't travel a lot as a kid, It was like I'd go to these small resorts in Wyoming. So we ended up in Jackson, and man, I was hooked. I was like, I'm coming back next year. They gave me a job, and that was what really honed like my big boy skills for snowboarding.
Well, because like snowboarding, the way you were explaining, Joe knows all about snowboarding, or knows more than I know.
I love snowboarding. I love the mountains. Anything in the mountains is what I do.
I love it too, but I don't know the game. I don't know the culture. You're not aiming for gold medals. You're not aiming for.
No.
Are you like? It seems to me that you're charting your own path. Like, what you do now, if you Google Mark Carter snowboarder, you're to find films and like art, snowboarding art.
Yeah.
Amazing wrecks.
Yeah,
like you were saying.
wrecking hard.
Wrecking hard,
well,
bro.
it's just like, it's freedom to be out there and navigate these giants safely and like look at, because every snowboarder, like I have an amazing group of people I ride with, and just like this whole community around the world that you can go anywhere and find these amazing guys, and like being tapped into that like special, pro, like I have a lot of contacts, which is cool. I get to like ride with these heroes of mine, but everybody looks at the mountains different. And it's like this very creative way and free way to just, to move, and it's like this, like going out in the mountains in the winter when we're filming and we have these objectives and this purpose. Like I have such a sense of purpose in winter to explore and find new zones to ride, new lines, new jumps, whatever we're doing, and document that. And I think that's what really is like the special part about it. I don't have anybody telling me what I need to be doing. I mean, there's certain times I have obligations to sponsors that, they need some assets, but I've really created this own path of mine that I get to ride with the people that I want to ride with, and which is one of the most important things, being with the people that I trust and I know care about me, and I know are going to put their 100% into what we're doing because it's dangerous, and like they have positive attitudes. And so it's really cool to be able to like pick my crew, from the filmers to the photographers to the riders. I mean, it's so important. Everybody needs to be moving safely and smoothly, and like everybody needs to be thinking as we're navigating. Because it's like, when conditions let us, we're going to really like walk that line a little bit, I mean, we don't make any decisions. Like people would look at it, you're like crazy, but there's a lot of calculation that goes into like these objectives and the things we're riding, because all the content that usually comes out is just like the best. It's like, I don't know how many hours of filming and working we do for like 5 minutes of film. We're only putting out the best, but it's very special, man.
What about injuries?
I've definitely had some injuries, and it's always one of those things where a lot of the times you're just riding through injuries. There's injuries and hurt. Like injuries are like kind of you're immobilized.
As a t-shirt,
it's like I did an ACL like years ago, and that was an injury. I was down for 6 or 7 months, but that was right at the end of winter, so it was no big deal. But like, yeah, you take a beating, like holding on. Like I get tendonitis, so I got to work on like just sledding all winter. My hands go numb. Which is super sweet, especially when trying to sleep. Yeah, that's awesome. They have these amazing like little massage guns and stuff these days. Man,
can you use them if your hands aren't numb?
Awesome.
Yeah, you can just use them on your whole body. It's great.
Just do it.
It's great. But I think it's maintenance. I think a lot of it comes down to nutrition, taking care of yourself. I don't party. Like, I like a good tequila once in a while, but I want to wake up just like early, ready to go. And I think putting a lot of that thought into continuing this, and especially, I'm getting older. Yeah. And not that I feel older, but it's like I am aware that your body definitely, if you're not upkeeping, then stuff's going to fall off. So it's like staying strong, eating healthy. I think that's super important.
Well, shit.
And moving.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly move. And you would think, for me, right, to be doing what you do, snowboarding all winter, filming it, being part of the production process, doing all that, and having a ranch, that would eat up all of your time. You wouldn't have time for anything else. But we already mentioned the motel, and then you also have Carter Country Meats. Yeah.
So the ranch. We just kind of, about 6 or 7 years, 7 years ago. I'd been in Jackson for 10 plus years, and people were always asking you like, hey, like, how do I get your beef? And I was like, that's a good question, man. I don't know. How do I get my beef?
A lot of jokes there. We left those jokes back at camp.
I've definitely fed a lot of the Jackson community my beef.
Yeah.
People always come up saying that I love your meat. And I'm just like, that's great. That's a very, it's a rewarding compliment.
I can't wait to have your meat.
I can't wait to feed you.
Thank you.
But so, 7 years ago, my brother and I, we were like, man, we got to do something different, because this commodity thing is like, you're at the mercy of the market, ups and downs.
Yeah. Can we take a step back real quick?
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think it's an important thing before we because I want to talk about the ranch more and talk about Carter Country Meats, obviously. But explain. Take us through what a rancher is in your mind.
Oh man.
And like what a rancher means to the landscape, because we like this is a vital thing. And let me just say, like, we've talked about regenerative agriculture, you and I, the other day when we were hiking, we were talking about that, talking about just like relationships to the land, relationships to the folks that control that land at some level. And I think it's very important, because we haven't had a rancher on this podcast in some time, but we're always talking about these issues that are either parallel to, ancillary to, or directly related to ranchers, what they do, how it affects hunters, how it affects how we eat, how it affects our food system, blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's important just to hear you kind of just go nuts on that.
I think, some of the most dedicated, committed people that I've ever been around, hardworking, honest, they care more about the land and the animals. I mean, that's their responsibility, in life. That's their whole purpose, is for those animals and that land to do well. They're the true stewards of the land. They have their hands in the dirt. They bleed. They sweat over that land. It's their survival. They have no other options, and it's a real sense of community. Like ranchers, ranchers really help each other. In spring, everybody brands, you help your neighbor, not because you're like looking for a handout or a check. That's expected. You help your neighbors. You have their back, because like when you're in a pinch, they're going to help you. And I think that sense of community within that world is it gives people in such a hard lifestyle a sense of security, knowing that you have a little backup, and I think they get a bad rap, from time to time. I don't think it's like a malicious thing. I think people just don't understand it. And I think if you've ever ingrained yourself into that culture and just seeing how they treat the land, I think you would really understand. And it's just like educating more than anything for people. But I mean, I've watched these guys, cry and bleed over this land, like my family. And at the end of the day, they're feeding people, It's like feeding people to survive. And I tremendous respect for those people, and the farmers, and because at the end of the day, the commodity market's kind of in the shitter, and it's like people are really trying to survive. And, what would you do to survive? Like, you're not going to, like, I think they get a bad rap in a way of people think that they're just out there to let their animals overgraze. But I was like, at the end of the day, man, like, if your animals aren't doing good and fat and happy, if your animals aren't happy, you're not going to do good. Yeah. Your calves are going to come in weighing light. So you got to really have your finger on the pulse of what the land is doing and what the animals are doing and how they're reacting, like happy animals. And it never ends with a rancher. There's no like, oh, I get the day off. No, man. Like, I watch my brother, and he's a very forward thinker, RC. And he just has so many ideas. But what I've watched my grandpa build, and my dad add to, and my brother just like, he's like the honing stone, right? He's just put that perfect edge on the ranch. All the fields are beautiful, like no monocropping, all natural grasses. The cows are happy. Like, everything's just in flow. And I think when you have that flow, it's a beautiful thing, but it comes at a cost, like, and that was one of those things for ranchers, the ranch always comes first. Yeah. Like, it's not like your family, it's not your wife, it's not your kids, it's the ranch, because you have all those mouths to feed you. It's your responsibility for all those animals to not suffer and do well. So if there's ever train wrecks, like you have, like, it could be your anniversary, man. You could be at dinner and there's a shit show going on at the ranch. Like, I know what my brother's going to pick. Like, he has to. That's his responsibility. But it breaks my heart to see the commodity market and a lot of these guys starving just because, there's people lining their pockets. And, the guys that hold the cow that's whole life get paid a minuscule amount of the guys that are, butchering them, the processing plants. Like, it's a crazy unfair imbalance, and yeah, it has to change. It's like the food system is so broke.
Yeah, and it seems like that. Like, you spend this time. I've talked to other ranchers too, and kind of picked this up, and it's like my version of what I'm hearing is like you develop this empathy and this compassion for the animals and the land and this connected. But then the other side, there's another side of the coin where you have to make money that they are literally your cash cows, but you have this empathy for their situation and the land that they need and the land that you need, and you have this value system. But at the other side, there's this, devil on your shoulder saying you have to make money. This is the way.
You do.
You have to live.
You do. And I think, if you could incentivize people to do this regenerative ranching and practices, and it would be lucrative. I mean, we're talking like changing the system essentially. And there's people doing it. But I mean, if you're a rancher and you're selling commodity right now, your cows are worth nothing. Yeah. So it's like, kind of like sourcing regionally, delivering locally is like the template. My brother has this crazy, he has so many ideas, and he's really like working on this. He loses sleep over this at night because, our business is, we sell direct to the customer. We do a little wholesale, and the business is good, but it's not all about us. It's like, we'll be okay, but I want to like see my neighbors do well. I want to see the whole community. Like, how do you change everything? Like, you need to see everybody that's going out there and losing sleep and stressing over finances and losing their ass and still having to work 7 days a week. Yeah. Like, you have to like, there has to be a point where those guys are being rewarded and like being able to just survive. It's not like they're asking for a lot.
Yeah. There's a gap there, and I think you're probably, your brother and you generationally are probably in a position where over your grandfather's life and your dad's life, things change so rapidly. Our food systems change, the way like ranchers related to the food system, their place changed so rapidly. Now there is, and we've talked about this on the show last week with Diana Rupp and Rob Wolf, and in other shows where we talk about Impossible Burgers and what they want to do with the landscape. We've kind of covered all of that, but here we are, like, you're an actual rancher. You're not some intellectual dude living in Boston or some, theorist at NYU, or you don't work at, in Hong Kong for Impossible Burger. Like, you're on the land, you see the shit, you know what's going on. And so there has to be, generationally for you, I feel like it's a huge opportunity because things are changing. Things can change. Things will change. There's new ideas.
Yeah. It's a huge opportunity. And it's like, I think our generation and these people informed, I mean, it's our responsibility. Yeah, I truly think that. And I think the food system is so broken. I think everybody should be able to eat healthy. I don't think it should be like this thing of class. And it's expensive to eat healthy, and there's all this dog shit at the bottom of the shelf that, if you don't make enough money, like, that's what you're eating. And that there's so many underlying problems there. And I think it's like, it has to be simple though. Yeah. And it is simple, but it's like always easier said than done.
Well, it's like we've run into this in our conversation about this kind of stuff. There's these large scale solutions. That's what Impossible Burger, plant-based meats are like. Hey, we're going to wipe out animal agriculture altogether through technology, through progression, through taking a system that isn't working, and instead of improving upon it, making it more local, as you suggest, and other folks that have backed regenerative agriculture suggest, we're going to erase it from being. And we're going to replace it with what essentially is a monoculture. Would have to be some sort of monoculture.
And like, what happens to the natural lands? Like that. There's existential cost at all that. And I think, we aren't God, and we can't just make these decisions. It's like really digging in and seeing how nature provides and nature, the system works. And I think that's what you really have to start looking at. The whole book is there. We just got to read it. And I think people are beginning to be more open to that and like asking about where your food's coming from and being more open to like cattle maybe aren't so bad on the land, like this nutrient cycling and sequestering carbon and all these things that like everybody's been fighting over. But it's like, it's a divisional thing, but it's like we all want the same thing at the end of the day. Like, we want Earth to survive and thrive. We want our race to survive and thrive. And, don't overthink it. It works, so listen to her, and that's always been something that I've finger on the pulse of the earth and whatever I've made doing. I listen to it. I listen to like what's going on around me. I'm not trying to force it or like project anything onto it. And I think that is so important, man.
Yeah. Are you ever scared for the community that you came from? Like fear for their future?
All the time, man. I see it. You see people like, it's hard times, man. And not saying it's just the ranching community. I think everybody's having hard times right now. And, if you see your neighbor like struggling, like help him. Like it's been such a weird thing with and the masks and not seeing people's smiles and just seeing people's terrified eyes. Like that's something I really realized, and like, man, that's not normal for humans. Like we need that love and compassion and embracement. And I think it's just, it's like maybe a little hippy dippy, but you just gotta like spread love, and like give people that, because that's what truly needs to be done right now.
Yeah, and it's good to see that you guys are thinking of solutions, and like what Carter Country Meats. We need to explain kind of what that is, and then talk about is that scalable? Is that a part of a solution for your community, the ranching community?
I believe that it's what we're creating. Carter Country Meats is we have an amazing I'm in the Bighorn Basin. There's 20,000 head of cattle. Not saying my cows are any better than my neighbors. Like they all eat the same thing, and we provide a great product, this beef. We're selling direct to consumer now, which obviously it was a perfect time to launch our online store during this pandemic. We literally we've been going wholesale for like 6 years, and then we have a really good team together now, and we were able to go online direct, and it was a perfect time.
Yeah.
But the whole idea behind this is creating a template that we can place in other communities, other ranching communities. And it basically is just like giving the rancher, selling direct to consumer, giving the rancher a premium for his product, guaranteed. Like buying our neighbors' cows, processing them locally, and then giving them to the people. And I think if we could take that, so he didn't have to worry about commodity, and he could just like, oh, well, I know I'm getting this next year, not like wondering if he's going to get paid. It's like really, and my brother's like the wizard behind all of this, and he could go way more in depth than I can. But the overall gist is just like creating a template that's going to work not just intensely, but it's going to work everywhere. And it's a lot of work in progress, but we have great companies we work with. Yeti's been huge for us. We did a collaboration with them, shipping in their coolers, and I can't speak highly enough of how they've really stepped up and supported us and backed us, and opened more doors for me in my career than I can even explain, just across the board. And I think it's bridging that gap and not telling somebody what to do, but just like showing them maybe how I do it and like what works. Because you're not going to like yell at somebody and convince them to do something. It's like show them.
Well, it's like the ranch community. It's a service community. They're servicing the food system, right? They're creating this food, and they're thinking, I'm going to get value for this product I'm creating. They're not I've never met a rancher like, I'm great at marketing.
No, they don't have time.
They don't have time.
They don't have time, man.
So yeah, so your brother.
It's been a perfect storm with my brother and myself, because he always stayed on the ranch, created an amazing family with his wife Andrea and his 3 little boys, and he stayed there, and it has just been there grinding since I've been off, traveling, gallivant the world, rich people stuff. No, I'm just kidding, kind of, but.
We'll get into some of that.
I've been able to really bridge the gap with his knowledge of an authentic rancher, my knowledge of growing up on a ranch and understanding, but then also bringing like my world of insanely good marketing in the snowboarding industry and action sports, and like putting these two worlds together. And like, that's why, like, I look at my team our team that we've built for Carter Country Meats, and it's like Sean Black. Well, he was my ex-team manager at Arbor, who was an amazing marketing, like he built Arbor up like over the past 5 years and super successful. Tina Goff, who's behind the scenes, she worked at Arbor. She's all of our like numbers and like crunching and like distribution. Nate Singer, who we met through another one of my sponsors, who's our butcher, who's consulted us on everything that we do beef-wise. Like super talented, from Wyoming, met him in Denver. Asher Coles, who's like, he's Sean, they have a marketing agency, Black Coals, and it's like he's a photographer, videographer, editor, and so like bringing those worlds together has just like this perfect storm of like marketing, and it looks clean, and it's just like we complement each other well.
No, it's good. I mean, I was just pulling up your website. Your brother says on here, our goal is to create a new food model that incorporates our regenerative land and ranching practices with sustainable delivery options to deliver the highest quality beef directly to your doorstep.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass.
And the thing is, it's expensive. It's like expensive to do this. Like people need, need to understand that it's expensive to create food, and like the meat is expensive. I'm not gonna lie, like it's expensive, and that's the problem. So it's like, how do we lower those costs but yet still be able to survive? You know, and I think that's the model, right? And
it goes against what we've, you know, in your dad's lifetime and my dad's lifetime, what we built with processed food, and that the processed food economy was like economy of scale. Yeah. How much of this can we create? How quickly can we get it out there? And how many people will eat it? And then it's got to be if they're going to eat it at this scale, it's got to be the cost has to be driven down so more people will buy it. And here we are. And that goes against what you're talking about, which is I have to work hard for this. I want to make this quality. And what's more important to be a quality environment than our food system?
That's most important.
I could have this chair I could sit in could fall apart while I'm sitting in it, and I would be upset, but I'd just get a new one. But if I'm eating something that is not, like we've not invested into it and put everything we can into it.
Listen, you only have one problem when you're hungry. And I mean, that's it. And so I think, I don't know what the solutions are, but searching, you know, and having RC on the other end, man, like his mind, it's always going. You know? It's like, but it's good. It's good.
Listen, to come from, like you said, come from a ranching family, come from a ranch community, and kind of be able to see more, more than just 10 sleep, more than just 40,000 acres, to look and see the culture and see how the society's moving, see how, you know, our economy is moving, and be able to move within it and still make a good business is pretty amazing given where you are, right?
It's been good, man. It's been good, you know, and it's rewarding to see, you know, and I mean, feeding people quality food and like, it just feels really good, you know, and we do a bunch of like, you know, anytime we can help a donation to a foundation that we believe in, man, we like get on that, like help people, like everybody's hungry, you know, and so it just boils down to being good, being kind, respectful, you know? I don't know.
I mean, it runs through. How many businesses are you involved in total? Oh, man. You'll never be able to count them all.
I'm involved in a lot of businesses.
You're telling me,
see, like
CBD, there was like CBD.
Oh, man. Yeah, Approach.
CBD.
Like, so I'm in Approach, CBD water.
You were feeding us some sort of...
what was they giving you?
Like a gel thing out of a pack.
Hana One. They make this amazing like botanical supplement. Hana One is amazing, and they source all their ingredients from like India and Bhutan. My friend Joel is like, he's an amazing. I mean, it's really good product. And I've just like curated my sponsors through things I can really talk about, and it's not for the paycheck. It's like, what do I believe in? You know, like, because I think it reflects in like my priorities and things that I want in my life. And I'm like, heck, man, I want a bacon sponsor. How do I do that?
You got one, don't you?
I got one, man. Tender Belly. I was like, I met these guys. Well, I met these sponsor. I was like, man, they make the best. So like Tender Belly, I'm not involved, but like those guys, you know, the North Face has been with me since I've been on the North Face global team for, 12 years-ish. Yeah. Arbor Snowboards. Involved in another company, Protect. And it's this amazing sunscreen company that's coming out. So Mark Healy's involved in that, and so like those guys kind of brought me in. I'm really excited about that. Good dudes. I mean, there's just kind of a big list, dude. Like,
how do you do all this shit?
Yeti,
how do you do all this?
Traeger.
What do you do? How do you do it? What are you doing?
I don't know.
Should you slow down a little bit, maybe?
No, you know what's really what I'm good at is saying no, and I'll just check out. And
Why are you here? How did you come hang out with us? You got a lot of stuff going on.
You know, one of the excuses of being like a rancher, it's like the greatest thing with all like everybody trying to get a hold of me. I'm like, man, I'm busy, man. I'm ranching. And so like everybody, they're not pissed. They know I'm like playing Xbox or something. And even if I'm not ranching, I'll just be like, yeah, I'm busy, man. I'm like out on the trail with cows or something. They're like, okay, yeah, we understand, Carter. You must just like get up at 4 every morning and just work so hard. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I do. I'm like, man, I'm in my stretchy pants. It was like 10 o'clock. I had to go shoot my bow a little bit. I don't know, dude. It's like, I think it's important to make the calls in what I do. Yeah. And I think I've been really good at, I've gotten better at it and saying no and just understanding my capabilities and my bandwidth. So I'm not like just killing my battery. I have to recharge. And like for me, isolation and nature is so important in me recharging my battery. And I've always been like a kid like that. I'm like, introvert but extrovert. I think it's called amnivert or something. I just heard something. I don't know. Let's call it that. I'm gonna make that up right now.
Let's go with it.
But it's I really love being around.
Joe, you Google that, please.
I really love being around people.
Already on it.
But I need my like solitude and just being out there. I'll go walk around the desert all day by myself and rip my dirt bike out there.
You were right.
Was I right?
Ambiverts.
I might have got that from my brother too. He's pretty smart.
We
too.
were learning lots of words and shit. I was like crepuscular.
Ooh, crepuscular. I like to make things up this from time to time as well. And just, as long as you say it with confidence, like people are like,
ambipuscular.
You're like, what are you gonna?
Sounds great.
Are you gonna?
It's all confidence.
Said it.
It's all confidence.
Yeah,
man. But I think like
call it the Guthrie.
Oh boy, I can't really.
No, we can't.
I wish I could have Guthrie on.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say this to you, and I think like part of why I want people to get to know you before I got to actually know you the last couple of days is because I knew kind of from so many people that knew you and so many people that spoke about your energy and like what you bring to the table. And then you start to see and hear and feel your energy and passion for stuff. And then you take it a step further, like all the relationships you have with all these really important, really influential people across the board, man. And you've turned that equation into a life. All these absolutely incredible people are fucking sucking up your energy and doing cool stuff. You're doing it together. You're doing it. You have stories of sailing the world with Ian Walsh, right? Like
Travis Rice. But Ian too. Ian's a good homie.
Yeah. You got good. Justin Timberlake's a homie.
Yeah. Oh, JT.
Hell yeah. Is a homie. We got to get him shooting a bow.
Shout out.
He's probably listening. Shout out. Shout out to JT. But that's one thing I was picking up as you're telling all these stories. You're not name dropping. It's just your life. You've taken your energy, the way you do things, and impacted, countless people that are themselves quite impactful.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to take credit for any of those guys.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to.
Like, I'm like, wow, man.
Something's happening.
I have an extraordinary group of people, names and unnamed, and I'm very fortunate to surround myself with, and it's a choice. I don't have time for bullshit. I don't have time for people that are going to drain me and suck my energy. I really want to be around people that care, and because I'm a loving person, man. I really if you're my friend, I want to give my all. Like, I'll do anything for you. Like, I'm yes, sir, yes, let's do this, until it's no. I'm hiding intensely branching, but I think it's really important who you surround yourself with, and if you surround yourself with negativity, then that's what you're going to project. And I think I really try to be around positive people, and I mean, not that it's all the time, and I try to uplift people as well, but man, negativity is just a cancer. Like, that shit kills me. Yeah. When people are just negative, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. Like, you're breathing, we're outside. Like, your priorities are all off, man, because live in the present and enjoy what we have. This is an amazing ride. Yeah. And it could be just gone so quick, man. And I've seen it, people just gone. And there's no rhyme or reason. You're just gone, dude. So get busy living. Yeah. I don't know.
Dude, I would tell you, and it's a common thread of people that we've had on here that are successful, not only successful in the way that what they do, but how they live and how they move through the world and how they constructed their life, right? Yeah. And we had Matt Best on and Omar Avila. I know you kind of know of those guys.
Yeah.
Know what they're about, right? Awesome. And we were talking about this in other episodes. I came into that kind of wanting to construct this narrative about the gun culture and social media and get these guys to talk about it. And these are issues that we need to talk about. But they're incredibly successful people that have triumphed in ways that you have too. And they said what you said. Hey, positivity, man. Take any challenge and turn it into something that will drive you forward. And culturally, we're struggling with that, man. As a country. We're struggling with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the earlier you can learn how to take a beating, the better, because that's life, dude. It's the most unpredictable thing and cruel thing. But it's how you
respond to it.
Well, yeah, respond and how you come out of a situation. It's not like, you can be in these like really horrible situations. You're like, oh, life, this is so bad. But don't let that affect you on the outcome, like that's your choice. Like you can control that. You can control your emotions. And it's just being conscious of that. And like really self-reflection is a huge thing for me, and like looking at yourself and being like, well, what am I doing? Like listening. And that just comes back to being open. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's good to read comments because it's so much negativity projected. I'm just like that. I don't have like, I'm not going to let that live in my head. Like I don't have time for that, and I think just kill people with kindness. It's just like it de-escalates. Like people don't even like, it's so easy to react on anger. I just want I just get pissed and yell back. But if you're just like, hey man, like you need a hug or something, and especially if like you're some rancher, you're like all gnarly, like my brother will be like, hey man, you need a hug, and you would not expect that, but like you watch it, just people are like, oh, maybe I should be nicer.
Well, listen, we're just in bear camp, and you can't like it's the time that we're in. You can't help but talk about. There's a lot of times where, I know you didn't post black square. I posted black square, but the point is kind of there's times when there's news. There's always bad news, right? There's always things that kind of are out there that you can pick up on. They can be part of your life's narrative, or they can just be like out happening in the ether. But now I just feel like there's so much going on. There's so much intensity around this negativity that we're talking about in bear camp. We're hanging around in the most beautiful meadow in the world talking about this stuff because, one, it's important and relevant, but it's also an interesting thing to try to solve in your own personal life, but then for people around you.
We care. We care about people. We care about what's going on. You care when you see people hurting and responding in these ways. And social media for me isn't the platform to talk about that, because, it's just, it's godless, social media is so, I don't know. I've just really, I haven't been into it lately, honestly. It's like worse than the news now because it's like a lot of negative. And I think the more you feed into that negative energy and it's easy for me to say living in Wyoming and being able to go walk outside and like put my feet in the dirt and just really see the beauty in this world. But I think that's the disconnection is people aren't taking their shoes off and putting their feet in the dirt. You're standing on cement, you're ungrounded. There's a lot of things that are going on that are feeding this. And people people have a right to be pissed. Like, oh, fuck, man. Like there's some things going on but I always try to put myself in somebody else's shoes and see why are you reacting this way? And I never have an opinion on something that I know nothing about. So for me to even say anything that I know nothing about, that's just disingenuous. So I just try to talk my truth and talk about things that I know, because I'm not from the city. I've been in the city. I know shit about the city, man. Like all I know is like they have pretty good food.
That's why everybody's like, what about all those hipsters in Bozeman? I'm like, they have good food,
man. And to each his own.
They're the best. They have the best restaurants.
Oh man,
like,
and I love diversity, man. Like I love diversity. I love seeing every walk of life. That's why I love traveling and like airports, like Amsterdam airport, man. Like you just sit there and you see everybody in this planet. But there's one common factor is like we're all walking on two legs, dude. We're all like the same tribe here. And like the unity thing, I know it's so hard, but like I would love to see more unity within just like people seeing each other for what we are and not like this division in your tribe and my tribe. It's like I bet if we were all hungry together, we'd all sit down at a table and we'd all eat. And we could all find common ground to talk about something. And I think, breaking bread with someone that has a totally different view of yours, but not like in a way of, I want to change your mind. I want to know your mind. Like, I'm going to give you my mind and you give me yours and just help me understand. And I think
that's how you learn, right? Man, that's just how you learn.
Don't ever go in with expectations and assumptions, man. Like generalizations and assumptions are the most dangerous thing. Yeah. And I think
that's like the precursor to discrimination.
Man,
the next step.
Yeah, you can't generalize, dude, because we're so like there's so many multifacets to the human race and just everything. It's like everybody's different. Everybody has the mind and a soul. And it's just like to call people one thing and that's what you are and put them in a box, I was like,
it's ugly, man.
It's dangerous.
Well, you and your family, like
really
you if there's anybody in the world who could have wanted to be a victim or grow up angry and frustrated about their situation, it's a third generation rancher in Ten Sleep, Wyoming, who's running cattle on 40,000 acres because it's a system it's breaking down for you.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, dude, I don't want to sound like a victim at all, but because, I was born into that ranch. I didn't work for that ranch. My dad did. My grandpa did. And I was like that generation where there was, I wouldn't say given to me. We earned it, but I don't feel like I've even come close to earning that ranch. I mean, nobody owns anything in the world. Like, if you really look at it, like, stand back, we're all here renting shit. Like, we don't own nothing. Like, you can have a big ranch and all this stuff. We're here renting it because you're temporary, man.
Our buddy Doug Dern has a T-shirt. It's not ours, it's our turn. Is that right, Joe?
It's exactly right, man.
That's right.
It's exactly right. And I think when people are like, mine, that's mine. I'm like, phew, for now.
Until you walk it back.
But I feel like extremely privileged to even have grown up working as hard as I did. But I grew up with opportunity, man. Like, I had that security of that ranch. No matter how hard it was, maybe it was a burden, like given, it was like, oh shit, do I want the ranch? But I wasn't someone that was like, I got nothing else, man. I got the street and I got these shoes. So for me to speak upon that, it's really hard for me because I don't know what that's like. Because I did have a lot of like opportunities through that, and still to this day. But I just recognized them, and anytime I saw an opportunity, I recognized it, and I was like, I'm gonna do everything that I can to like make this thing
to capitalize on that
blue, man. Yeah, plant those seeds.
What do you think about your brother's kids? You don't have kids.
Oh man, they're good kids. I gotta slap them around from time to time. But it's all right.
What's Uncle Mark like?
Dude, I'm cool.
I know it.
So like, I'm like the dude that rolls up and sits at the kids' table. Like, I'd rather sit at the kids' table and go jump at the trampoline, talk some shit with the kids. Like, that's my jam, Like, all the uncles, I'm still like single, and I don't have I've kind of devoted my life to snowboarding at this point, and it's easier that way. And maybe I'm kind of selfish too in a way. I'm honest with that.
That's all right.
But I love being an uncle, and I love my sister's kids, both my sister's kids. And it's really cool to like go out and work with the kids, because I grew up working next to my family, and that's a very special thing when you can bleed and just get dipped in shit with your family, work hard and understand what it takes. She builds like this bond that is unbreakable. And to do that with my nephews and stuff now is so rad. Like, I take my sister's kids, Carter and Kendrick, and Elizabeth, her daughter, and I'll take them down like when my dad is like loading a bunch of his crazy cows and Brandon and stuff, and they're just with me, and they're like old enough now. Liz is like 17, Carter's 15, Ken's is like 13, but their hands, because they grew up around cattle, they understand how livestock move and work, and I'm just like standing in the crib, like sorting all these cows, and we're working. I'm just like, this is awesome, man. Like, this is what it feels like to have kids, I guess. Like kids that you like taught something, they worked hard, because they're just, it's really rewarding. Yeah. And then they think I'm pretty cool. At least I think they do. Maybe I'm just like,
I think you're like, look at this guy. Look at this selfie I took.
But beyond that, like I've really tried to open their minds to like the rest of the world, because Ten Sleep's an amazing spot. Don't get me wrong, but it's like anywhere you grow up. It's one place. Yeah. I'm like, man, like think outside the box. I've traveled the world, and I'll bring them to like my movie premieres or whatever to just see them experience this other side, because it's 180 degrees of difference, and to just like maybe spark something in them to make them like feel what I felt, and just be like, man, really, if you put your mind to something, like you can kind of do anything. The mind and perseverance and sacrifice and just hard work, man, it's a powerful thing, and not giving up. But that's what the ranch taught me. It's just, you can't give up. Like, where's the solution? Yeah. My brother always says, he's like, I'm looking for solutions here. Here's like, all right, man, like, what's the solution? Okay, this is it. Let's move forward. That didn't work. Well, we're going to do this. And then it just helps you think outside of the box. And I don't know, I guess easier said than done. You know,
What like those kids, they're around. So what's their generation going to go through? Like what?
Oh man,
What are they going to have to deal with?
oh man, I can't even imagine. You know, because we do live, and I don't want to bring all the negativity on this time we live in, because we live in the best time. I mean, they say we live in the best time to be alive economically. Like you're not looking over your shoulder. Like most people aren't looking over their shoulder, like wondering if the boogeyman's going to come get them, you know, and you can push a button and get anything. You can order Amazon. I think it would be simpler to just be a hunter-gatherer. But I see all these outside things that I can't understand within the younger generation of like social media and having all of that stress of the information overload to like navigate that, like as a 14-year-old kid. Like, dude, I remember it was hard enough to navigate when I was at that age, or even, you know, whatever age, teenagers, young kids, but now they have all this information overload and I think 85% of it is negative. So how do you stay positive if you aren't just going outside and being present in nature and like turning all that off, and you're not getting a dose of that, man? And the majority of people are just looking at their iPhones and computers, and like that's where everything is. Like everything is so easy, but it's not easy, man. There's a price to all that shit. I don't know, dude. That's like, I wouldn't want to be a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I like struggle. Like, I would love to have kids, you know. I got to have a wife first. But, you know, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's like the best thing that a person can do. That's what my dad always says. The best thing a person can do is like, you have children, you watch them grow and learn. But like right now, man, I want to see how it kind of plays out.
Give it 5 years.
give me a little time here. I don't know, dude.
Man, there is I like you say that there's a price to pay, because we don't think of it that way. We don't think of like all the progress in technology. We think of it as only progress. We think of it as only something that's moving us forward, that's making things easier, but that it has a price. It has mostly an existential price, but a physical price. I mean, people are wearing blue light glasses because they're looking at screens too much. That's a physical price to pay, but the existential mental price that you pay from like immersing yourself in a world that isn't real is immense, man. It's got to be immense.
There's a give and take, man. Like there's a balance with everything, and I just see it really not balanced right now. You know, like in certain places it is balanced, and you see those people happy. You know, I think less is more. You know, like I think if you feed into the monster, the machine, it just wants to consume you. Yeah. It wants you to consume all of everything it's spewing out and just eat it up and buy, and you need something new, and like, oh, this thing's kind of getting old, throw it out. Just like we were talking about our old people, man, like elderly. Like we live in a society where we like, they just like let them, just like put them in a nursing home, man. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy to me. Like, these are the wisest. This is wisdom. There's so like lived life experience. Like those people should be living side by side these kids and teaching us, you know? And so like we talked about our kids growing up, and if we're not leading by example and we're putting our parents in a home, like what are they seeing? They're seeing that. That's okay. So why would they respect you? You know, and I think there's a huge respect division right now. And I think it has a lot of not like it's actions, man, like actions, like what we're doing. You know, and I have a huge respect for communities that like, there are communities that like take care of their family, live together. Like grandma lives with the kids, man. Like that's so cool. Yeah. I think that's so needed. That's what we need. We need sense of community and purpose.
Yeah. I feel strong about that too. I was telling you guys at breakfast today. Shout out to Faye's Cafe in Livingston.
That place, woo.
Blowing it
man,
up.
She did some stuff.
That was great.
It was like a tongue puncher.
Yeah, talk about somebody who just does her. She just does her. I never met her before. She's like, I just kind of like cook my feel. I'm just like, I just throw some shit on a plate.
Dude, I love
her special. Her special was awesome. It was like Faye's choice.
She's like, Faye's choice. Well, what is that? Whatever I want. And I was like, I love that you were just like, I want Faye's choice. Just give me that.
I said, I want you to have a good time, Faye. Like,
she was having a good time. I was impressed.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there because they're great and they're super friendly and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
I was thinking about that waffle I was eating, and now I totally lost my track.
Waffles and Benedict and stuff.
Yeah. I told my dad's retiring. I was like, man, I think what I want, and I want to be very clear, is for you to spend all your money, live in the way you want to live, in the way that you've earned to live, however many years you have left, time being, the big factor for everybody.
Yeah.
And then come stay with me. Just come on, and then come stay with me. But only when you're done doing. And if you want to come live with me, and that's what you want out of the next 20 years of your life, that is also something that I want.
Yeah.
Because it's just like and it's also just, you got to pay it back, man. How much? And that's one thing I think about when we talk about the culture. Like, I feel enfranchised. I feel like I owe a debt to not only my family, but my country and the people around me, my community, the hunting community. I owe a debt to the hunting community for what the people in it have done for me. So I feel indebted, and that's why I got to work for that, So there's part of that. I would hate to meet someone that doesn't feel that is disenfranchised, that doesn't feel a debt, that feels like they've been screwed over and left behind, That's real.
I agree. It happens all the time, man. Yeah. You put yourself in their shoes and understand that,
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and part of it is for me to see, I don't have anything to pass. I'm building something to pass down to my kids, but to see a ranch that'll just is like kind of like the beating heart of like your people, man. That's cool.
Beautiful place, man. I love it.
I gotta come down.
You gotta come
some
on
car
down.
country
Come on down. We don't get much company.
down at Tinsley.
Down at 260.
I've never been to Jackson either. I gotta get down there.
Jackson's cool. There's a lot of people in Jackson.
We'll take you snowboarding.
I've done that once or twice. It ain't gonna be pretty, but I'll do anything.
You think you're sore now?
I do have some. I got a hip flexor going on.
Well, it's always great to teach people to snowboard too. It's like I'm not a teacher. I'm pretty patient. I know one thing, the best thing to do. a boyfriend wants to teach a girlfriend how to snowboard. I'm like, listen, dude, get her a lesson and do not teach her because you're just gonna get pissed.
Just walk away.
Get her a lesson, get her like up, or give somebody a lesson. But I actually took John Dudley, snowboarding. We had a great time. But that guy is crazy talented.
Well, he's an athlete,
dude. He's like this monster. He's a huge. He's like and it was so funny. It was like Stumpf and Trevor and Dudley. We went up to Brighton because there was this like Traeger event, and Dudley's like, man, I want to snowboard. I was like, well, all right, we'll set you up. So I got him like this huge board from it was like a Gooch Pro model from Arbor. I was like, what's your biggest board? And so we got this board, and the first run, it was so funny because he'd set up a stance, and it was super narrow. I was like, oh boy. I was like, your stance is way too narrow. And he really is like, oh, my legs are so tired. Like this isn't good. And I was like, man, let's just widen your stance. And by like a couple runs, man, I was like kind of blown away. But then he, obviously kind of gave me the archery, taught me the archery, built me a bow, and like that guy, I can't thank him enough for what he's done and what he just does for people, man. Like he's such a giving.
He's built
person.
a whole thing, man. He's like
he's such a boss, dude.
He just builds custom bows for other people and sends them around.
You want a bow? I was like, yeah. I mean, I hate to ask for anything, but really like to get into that.
Like we were talking about in camp. That he's a guy where there's such a void in the archery space. There's such, Joe's worked as a bow tech. There's a void of I want to get into archery, and guys like you and me and everybody that wants to promote it say like, go do it. And then somebody goes to their local, I'm not knocking local bow shops or pro shops, but it's hard. It's hard to get someone to take the time with you that it takes a lot of time
to really teach you what you need to know
to learn the craft.
It is intimidating.
Yeah.
To go in, like it's like a humbling experience, like learning something new, and that's why I really love it. But you go into like, okay, imagine you go in there, you're like, I'm the kook.
Yeah.
I'm the kook guy. Hey guys, out in the lineup, like trying to surf.
Shit.
Like
what's a fletching?
Is that cool if I have water wings on, man? Is this cool? Is this? And they're like, don't do that.
What's the lineup?
What? Oh, it's my wave, right? Smack. But yeah, man, it's like.
But you think about surfing and golf and things like that. If you're bad at golf, the thing the thing that you might do is hit somebody with a ball, hit the guy in a golf cart with a ball or something, or hit a ball in somebody else's, or get too drunk and just pass out. By the by, I feel like I have some ideas for golf to make it way cooler. I will get into that.
Exploding balls,
something like that. Target shooting while you're going.
Oh, that'd be cool.
On the green. But those things have they have consequences. The only consequences are more of like a personal thing. Like in archery, the consequences of not being. I've felt these consequences all the time, even as somebody's hunted my whole life. I feel them all the time. Like, you didn't prepare for that. You fucked up. Yeah. Oh man, you suck. And now that animal is limping around. It's the worst feeling in the world because you do know it's your fault. Like, you could have done more. And archery is like that.
Yeah, man. I think you apply yourself. It's like the respect for the animals you're hunting, and like being proficient with that bow. Yeah. And I think that just comes with like practice and discipline and like shooting a lot, getting like, and not taking something, like, don't do something you can't do. Like, there's no guessing. Like, maybe I got him. He's 120 yards. Hell,
which pin?
I think I got him.
Yeah,
Humdinger.
And that's the thing that Dudley has, that like he has the part of him that is a service to everyone, is that like, hey, there is a process here. There is a way. This is a craft, and you can't just want to do it. You have to put yourself into it. And
you gotta apply yourself, man. And his school of knock online is so rad.
Yep.
Like, that helped me. I was like, I don't watch YouTube, but I like watched all the it's like did the whole thing.
So many little things with. I mean, you gotta learn energy and the how energy is applied, and like how things move through air. Like all the things you kind of have to learn to understand the scope of it. So that's what makes it cool. And then on the other end of it, if you're really good, you can get some meat, but like, it ain't gonna be easy.
It's a pursuit. And don't have any expectations.
Do not. But I think we've talked about we've swept through like all the badass shit, but we got to talk about the one. Like, it's not probably not the one thing in your life that completely sucked, but it's a thing that I think. I'm glad we can talk about it, because not a lot of people can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a defining moment, man. Like, it was a defining moment, like, yeah, a lot of people don't know, I have 3 felonies,
Yeah, hanging out with a felon.
I'm a felon, man. I'm a felon. We got crossways, it was a crazy, crazy time of my life, got crossways with the federal government, and they spanked us pretty hard. It was a little backstory was, growing up hunting my whole life, that was my passion, like my whole family's passion, my grandpa, like everybody. This was, and really like growing up respecting the animals and understanding how the whole system works, and being a poor rancher, And then so when I was about 20 years old, and we were great elk hunters, I shot my first elk when I was 12 years old, and it was a proud moment, and just hunted all the way through high school, loved hunting, guns, everything. That was my passion, man. That was my life. And then I started pursuing the snowboarding thing, still ranching, doing some other things. And my brother, he'd graduated college, so he came back to the ranch, and I mean, the ranch, like, dude, you ain't making any money. Like, he was poor. And so we had an opportunity. He's like, hey, I'm gonna be an outfitter. Like, we're good at hunting. Like, let's do some outfitting on the ranch, and like the elk. We had amazing elk hunting. Like, let's do this. And so obviously, I was like, man, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Like, I can make a little cash in the fall. And so we started out. He was the outfitter, and I got my guide's license. And the first couple of years, it was pretty tough. Like, because it's a draw.
Yeah.
And so we'd have a couple hunters, and like it was like. It just wasn't what, it needed to be more. Well, then, obviously he met these guys from Oregon, and they were like, well, hey, guy, like, we'll can we buy your landowner tags? Like, we'll pay you, and then we'll just come out and we'll do the hunt. And like, they're going to pay him. It wasn't crazy. I don't even know how much money it was, but I was getting like a couple grand a fall cash to go work for like, a month guiding. And they'd have a few group of guys come out. So the deal was, if they didn't draw, they could use one of our landowner tags, because since we had all that land. And if nobody knows about landowner tags, it's like in Wyoming that you cannot sell your landowner tags. And we knew that, but like growing up in a small community like we grew up in, it wasn't like, I'm not going to say it wasn't done. It wasn't done. Like people subsidize their ranch and certain things like during those times to maybe sell their landowner tags. So, but we had become an outfitter, and we were like, well, let's try to do it almost by the book. So we'll do these hunts, and we'll have a website, and we'll do a few landowner tags. So that's what we did. I think, over...
Because it was your brother.
Yeah, it was my brother and myself.
And your
well,
dad.
My dad wasn't even involved. My dad was like, it was his ranch. But so my dad, he'd come up to hunting camp, dick around. He didn't know what was going on. My brother was like the outfitter. He dealt with it. I was the guide. I did a lot of cooking. RC did most of the guiding as well. So we had this kind of like, this idea that like the landowner tags, it was like kind of a misdemeanor. And like, I'm not going to say I never broke the law. We weren't super concerned about it, just in the environment we were in.
You had a comparison to it, like having a couple beers on the way home from work. Is that how you felt about it?
Yeah. It wasn't like a huge deal. Like, it wasn't something that was really on my mind. But I knew I was breaking the law. But like in that environment, like that's it. We kind of, I wouldn't say lived in a lawless land, but I mean, growing up, the deputy sheriff was our football coach. So we had a lot of reins, man. Like, it wasn't like this super regulated area where they're like, you're breaking the law, you're going to jail. There was like, man, I did my share of drinking and getting in trouble as a kid, but there was a lot of just like understanding that these ranch kids are kind of wild, and like, let's just let him go, like kind of good old boy, let him do his thing. Not that that's any excuse for what we did, right. But that's how we got in the
yeah, we should make it clear that nobody's asking for excuses. Just like, what's your mindset?
Well, that was a mindset. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a big deal in my mind, but I did know it was against the law.
Yeah.
How much against the law? That was something I did not know. So we go through, we're probably a guide. We guided these dudes for like 4 or 5 years. And then they had some friends come out and if they couldn't make the hunt. And granted, some of these guys were drawing tags. It wasn't just all landowner stuff. I think over the course of 8 years, maybe, I don't know how the numbers, but it was less than 8 tags got used, I think. And so in like 2010, I'm at the top of my career. I'm traveling the world. I'm riding. I'm like, but there was this weird thing in my life. I was like, I was happy, but I was like a little unfulfilled, and I was really burnt out on like guiding hunters. was really burnt out on like that wasn't mine anymore. That wasn't for me. That was like, hunting season's coming, and now it was like, I gotta go guide these guys. Like, okay, whatever, because they can be kind of difficult.
Yeah.
It's
a client. It's a client service thing.
And the client service thing, I'm not
sometimes.
a client service guy. So in about 2010, I'll never forget it. It was like in June 5th, 2010. I mean, I woke up one morning and there's like 4 federal agents at my front door. And I was like, whoa, like, what do we do? And my brother, he was out.
Do you have any inkling at all?
No. I'm like, but I saw Game and Fish. I was like, uh-oh. Like, what do we do? Like, we did something. Like, something's really bad. I just had this, like, it was 6 a.m. So my brother said he's out on the tractor at 6 a.m. out, like, in the field, and he sees, like, 4 Suburbans, maybe 4 or 5 Suburbans coming down the road, bumper to bumper, black, come in. And he has, like, this ditch in his driveway, and he said these things hit this thing so hard, like, they're bouncing, like, they jumped. And then all these dudes jump out with, like, federal agents, guns drawn, boom, all over his property. And he's way out in the field, and he just starts cruising over in his tractor. He's like, what is going on here?
So it was like a full-on raid. Like,
dude, it was a raid.
They had
60 agents across the nation. Like, they raided every hunter we had ever hunted with.
So it was a coordinated. Like,
it was a coordinated effort. They had their, they had it dialed. So they came in hot, and they sat down with me, and they're like, what do you know about these? Started talking to me. I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but the guys that came in were nice to me. Like, these dudes were pretty nice, They started asking me questions, and I was like, yeah, man, like, we have this hunting outfit, and he's like showing me pictures. So basically we had a website, and these animals that were illegal, they were on our website. So that's how much we knew. Yeah. So we had the website up. We had the legal animals. Some of them were on there. And they're like, you know about those guys? And I was like, oh yeah. And I was so freaked out. I didn't know what to say. Like, I kind of admitted to some stuff, but I knew that I just kind of played dumb a little bit too. I was like, I don't know. Cause I knew we were fucked. Like, at some capacity here. So they do their thing, and they take my cell phone, they take some stuff from me, and then I was like, whoa, that was crazy. I called my brother. I'm like, dude, what is going on? And he's like, and he tells me his story. Dude, these guys come in, like, he just had 2 babies in his house, and they walk all over, and they take and they could do anything they want, right? And they walked over his carpet with muddy boots and took his laptop, took everything, cameras, everything. And I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. Like, they told us what's going on. It was illegal hunting, but I didn't know what the capacity was. And then they mentioned felony. And I was like, what do you mean felony, man? Like, what's like a felon? Like, you're talking about me being a felon. Okay. That's crazy. And so it went on for like a year, and I didn't even know whether to get a lawyer or not. I was like, am I in trouble?
Did they just continue to contact you?
No, it was kind of silence, but I knew something was like going bad. And like, RC lawyered up. I didn't lawyer up. I didn't really know like if I was in trouble. I didn't know, but they were building a case. And I was like, I had these sponsors, dude. And like, I didn't tell anybody because nobody knew, but I had this in the back of my head, I knew something was coming down the pipe. Like, I wasn't dumb. Like, I'm pretty wise. I was like,
do you remember the days during that where you like getting up in the morning trying to act normal?
Dude, I didn't sleep, man. I didn't sleep. There was 2 years where I didn't sleep. It was an amazing experience in the way that I had no control. Like, I had lost all control of my life, but all I could control was my emotion, how I reacted. And so I just kind of like went on living, man. Like, it took me a long time to settle into that. So we go for like a year, I'm killing it at life, I think. And
was there guilt there? Do you think like, are you because like you said, you did something wrong. There's nobody out there that hasn't done something wrong.
There was never an animal that was shot without a tag.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Everything had a tag. And there was less animals shot because the way we were hunting was like, dude, if you had an opportunity at a mature animal, and if you didn't, if you blew that chance, like there was a lot of guys went home empty-handed, but we did, I think we did get some beautiful animals. But so that went on, and I just like was trying to live my life and trying to be normal. I was dating a really amazing person, and it was a lot of stress, on our relationship or whatever. But then it was like August the next year. we get indicted. I get a letter, like they're like, indictment, you got to be at the federal court, and this is the deal, all right? I was like, okay, so we did this landowner. I know there's some tags. This is a bad deal. Like I have no idea what's gonna happen. We go into court, and they indicted my dad too, which was that really hurt because he wasn't involved in the hunting operation, you know. But like one day he'd come down, like we'd gotten this beautiful bull, and he was there, and he would help us pack it out. So I guess he was involved, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
and he got a photo with the animal, like, you know, he's like, oh, take a photo, you know. So anyways, he's involved. He's an accessory. We go to federal court, and they're like, they just start reading off, like we stand up, and they just start reading these charges off, man. And so when it was all said and done, my brother and myself were indicted on 11 felonies apiece. My dad was indicted on 3. I was facing 55 years in prison. RC and I each were facing 55 years in prison and $4.5 million in fines apiece. And I was like, it wasn't even real, man. Like I remember cutting a check. That was when I was like, I should probably get a lawyer before this indictment. Yeah. So I cut a check for $20,000. It was like my whole savings to this lawyer. I was like, here you go, man. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. He's like, you're, this is not good. You guys are going to go to prison. I was like, man, like I'm going to prison for this. Like, this is crazy. Not like, had no idea that this was a felony. So they indict us on.
To be clear, the felony comes in Lasiac violation.
Yeah. So it
for
was
these guys taking these illegal animals.
Yeah. So
back
a couple of the
hunters
had taken animals back across state lines, violating the Lacey Act, and that's where the feds became involved. Because if they'd have never crossed the state lines, it wouldn't have been a felony. So that's where it got really cloudy. And I was like, holy cow, man, like we are in trouble. I'm facing 55 years in prison. And so like that was the game, man. Like I lived with that. And then, but the thing is like once that came out, then it was public knowledge. Then the media got a hold of it. And then they started writing things about it. You know, it was a huge poaching ring, like all these things. And I don't know how you define poaching. Like maybe I did. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's the definition, illegal animal taken. I didn't feel like it was, but I did that. And the media butchered us, man. Like it was like this Casper Star Tribune, they were relentless.
Can you pull some of that up, Joe?
I mean, it was relentless. And I had a bit of a name in snowboarding. So, I mean, they were like, look at this guy. And then some asshole in snowboarding, like leaked it in the snowboarding media. And then it just blew up. And so I get a call from like one of my huge sponsors. They're like, yo, dude, what is going on? I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, I did some things and I'm in a lot of trouble. Like, that's all I can tell you. Like, I'm going to continue to do this snowboarding thing, like with or without you guys. Like, I understand that this does not look good. And on paper, it is horrible. And so that was something I had to navigate. And that was a very humbling. I mean, I was so vulnerable. I mean, I just had my hands out. And then so throughout the next year, I did everything I could, man. Like if they asked me for something, like the prosecutors, I was like, man, what do you guys need from me? Like, I will tell you everything. Like I have nothing to hide. I am an open book here. And my whole family was that way. So we sat down and we went through this whole process for a year of what they were going to do with us. And I'm still trying to like juggle my professional career where it's like I can see it falling apart. My relationship at home is falling apart. Everything is falling apart around me. And I just kept thinking to myself, I was like, it made me really prioritize and live in the present because I didn't know if I had a future. Because I really thought like I was going to do some prison time.
I was going to say, did you think?
Yeah.
Did you talk to your lawyer and he said,
lawyer's
hey,
like,
you're looking at?
He was basically like you're like, I would be really surprised if you don't do time. And I just like, it was really hard for me to comprehend that because I didn't have a record. Like I'd never done anything to be in jail. I'd never gotten thrown in jail. I had some minor infractions as a kid, as drinking, but to go from nothing to like the worst, it was like my mind did not compute what was happening. Like I was kind of not in denial, but I was just really optimistic, man. I'm like, I'm not going to get felonies, dude. I'm just going to like keep doing this. Like life's good. But it made me really prioritize my family because during this whole process, they were really trying to turn us against each other. Like they're like, your brother said. And I was like, no, he didn't. Like, but I get it. I get why they do that to like some bad guys. They turn them against each other. But I mean, maybe it's just me and it's my introspect, but like, I didn't feel like I was a bad guy. I didn't feel like we were bad guys. You know, I didn't like it was what it was.
That was the most interesting point you said to me. You're like, I felt they were using the tactics that you would want them to use on bad guys.
You want them to use
on you, and you felt like I'm a good guy.
But maybe the bad guys feel that way too. They're like,
probably.
You know, I mean,
probably.
it's just, I mean, poor me. It's just a selfish outlook on it. But it was crazy, dude. Like I didn't sleep, but it really got me to this place of calm and patience, and just like letting things go, and things are going to happen. And there's nothing I can do to control this. And I just let it go, man. I was like, here we go. Like, I'm along for the ride on this one, man. It's like getting on a plane in turbulent weather, flying to South America. It's like, dude, you have no control. Just like sit back and just like take it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I took it. And I think the hardest part was watching the local media, the Whirlwind News. Like these guys that I had all these accomplishments in my career that was like pretty exceptional for that area, like a snowboarder coming out, and they would never do anything in the paper about me. Like I'd reach out and be like, hey man, that'd be cool to do the local thing. Never reached out. But the minute I am in trouble and this negative news, man, they were all up on that. And they just hammered it weekly about my dad. And that was hard seeing my dad. Like I have thick skin, but like he's like 63 years old and like growing up in this community, and they're like, you're a felon, you're a poacher, you're like doing all this stuff. And like, yeah, we were charged with that. And I understand like that's what it looks like. But that was really hard to watch. And then, you know, just navigating that, watching it hurt him, watching it hurt my mother, and that's just the people around me. But like, there's one thing, man, like I learned who my friends were.
Yeah. Like
people distance themselves, man. Like I had contracts coming down the pipe. Like I was about to sign with a snowboard company, and they were like, yeah, that budget's tapped. I understand. But there were the companies that stood behind me. They knew my integrity. People are going to make mistakes, man. Like people are going to make mistakes. And as long as you are accountable for yourself and you admit and you move on, like everybody else should too. It's like forgiveness is a beautiful thing in the human nature. And I think we're losing that. But so we went through this year of just hell, man. Like I'm traveling the world and like trying to produce video parts. I have this dangerous job where my mind is not in it. My girlfriend's leaving me. Like I have these opportunities that I can't even go after because I'm like so mentally like scrambled. And then I'm in Japan. I'm like on this amazing trip in Japan with like my best friend and one of my best friends from Norway. We're snowboarding and doing this project that winter. Everybody's backing me. I know this thing's coming down the pipe. And so we're like going back and forth with the feds. And like I would sit down with these guys. Like I was driving from Jackson to Casper to go meet with these guys because trials were coming up for all the other hunters, and all this crazy shit was going on. It wasn't just my life, man. They turned like a lot of people's lives upside down. And I mean, we deserved it. Like I broke the law, man. Like it was what it was. And I'm in Japan, and I still think that there's a chance that I'm not getting any felonies, because felonies to me are like, man, I'm like thinking all these like things in my head. I'm like, I'm not going to ever be able to have a gun again. Something that I love so dearly and something I grew up with. It's like tool for a rancher. And I'm in Japan doing this project, and I just never forget. I was riding the elevator one morning, and I get the email from my lawyer, and he's like, here's the plea bargain, dude. And it was like 3 felonies, like I was getting 3 felonies, $75,000 donation to the Wyoming Game and Fish. And then I had to go to court. Then I had to go get sentenced. And I was like, wow, I guess this is what's happening, man. There's no like, you don't once they plea bargain, they're like, here you go.
What was the felonies?
Conspiracy to traffic in illegal wildlife, trafficking in illegal wildlife, and falsifying government documents. Because I signed my name to a landowner tag one time. Yeah. And so I didn't understand the falsifying, but I get it. Like it's on the tag, and it says if you sign this illegally, that's a felony. Yeah. I committed that felony, dude. I signed that shit. You know, I didn't. Who reads the fine print? I tell you what, I read fine print now. Yeah. So then, you know, my brother he pleaded the same thing. My dad got like a plea with 1 felony, and like I don't remember exactly his donation fines. So then I'm like, okay, well at least we got that over. Okay, we're gonna move on. Like now we go to court. Our next step, and that was the thing, is like I found out I got felonies, and my girlfriend left me like within like 2 weeks. And I don't blame her for leaving me, dude. I was a dick. I was so stressed out, and like I was trying to like juggle all these things. Sponsors were leaving, like it was what it was. I was just like wading the storm. I came back from Japan. I had like some crazy sickness that I was just in an apartment with no TV. Like I showed up, she was gone, everything was turned off, and I got sick and laid in my bed for 3 days with like almost died.
Well, there was a quote that Joe was just showing me that said it was like, this ruined my life up to this point. Is that how you obviously felt that way?
At that point, I did. At that point, man, and that was when we went to.
How old were you then?
I was,
it's been years
dude. When they rated us, I just turned 30. That was my 30th birthday. It was right before my 30th. They're like, "Hey, man, like, dude, it's something like they say 30, like something changes in your life, like either way." I was like, 30 sucked, but it changed, man. Like it changed me, and I wouldn't take it back. You know, like I wouldn't. Like that experience and those hardships, like they molded everything that I am right now. And so we go to court, and that's the scariest thing. Like we go to Cheyenne, man. Like here we are in court getting sentenced. I'm still facing a maximum of 15 years and $750,000 in fines. I'm like, dude, like I hope the judge is cool. And so I go up there.
Yeah,
and
you're going into that, and your lawyer's saying, "Hey,"
I'm still like they got me by the balls. I got nothing, dude. I have no control. The lawyer's like, dude, like I hope we can get you out. And I've just given it all up. You know, I'm like, man, like my life, I've lived an amazing life. If this is what's happening, like this is what it is, dude. But I can't, like, I understand when people get backed into a corner, you know, I understand like that feeling of helplessness, and you maybe want to just like act out a little bit towards like whatever's pushing. You want to push back, dude.
Yeah.
You want to push back.
Of course.
But I didn't push back. You know, I went and I stood in front of the judge and you know, I think one of the quotes was, you know, this is ruined my life. And that was like a quote from the court, and my whole family's there, dude, like my whole family. And my friends that showed up, Louie and Justin and Dowell and Johnny, they showed up. Like, dude, they didn't have to show up. They showed up in my behalf and my family's behalf. And, you know, she looked at this and was like, you know, she told me, she's like, I've never seen anyone facing what you're facing with the record you have and the life you've lived. But at that point, you have a plea bargain, you know, like it's done.
It's done.
But she's just like, this is what your sentence is. And she just like, dude, she didn't give me shit. You know, she was like, she understood a little bit, I think. And she had empathy for the situation. Not that she was like, you didn't break the law. Like, she's like, you broke the law, Mr. Carter. Like, this is the consequences. And I was like, I accept it. Anything you give me, this is it. And I got 3 years unsupervised probation because she was empathetic towards my job and traveling and all this career. And so that was like a huge relief. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to prison, dude. But I'm like, it wasn't. And then I realized like my anxiety wasn't about me going to prison. It was about my brother.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do to him? And dude, they got up there and dude, they sentenced him to like 1.5 years in prison. And like his wife's there and like crying. And I was like, there's this heavy moment. And I was like, all right, like, okay, 1.5 years. Like, what's my solution here? Like, hopefully that doesn't happen. And walking out of that courtroom was very sobering. It was in this way of like, okay, I think you're going to jail. I'm not going to jail, which I'd rather be going to jail. You have the family, but we're done. Now we're moving forward. We're like, we know what's going to happen.
You have some control.
I have some control. I'm like, okay, man, like, let's like, we'll figure this out. Like, you know, I was even thinking, I'll quit the snowboarding. Like, I'll come back to the ranch. Like, whatever I got to do to like help my family and like make this work. Thank God he didn't have to do 1.5 years. They went through some shit, and he did end up having to do like 2 months in federal, which was crazy. But he was like, man, that was an experience, man. Like that was something that I needed, you know. And I don't know the reasoning behind everything that went down. I always felt like, you know, I think when you're always in a situation like that, you feel like poor me. And like they're going at me so hard, and like I just, but I just, it was what it was, and I just like take your licking. Here you go, man. First wreck, like wreck, get up. Like, are you gonna let this define you as a person? Are you gonna like hold resentment against the people? And it was my choice. It was our choice, man. I accepted the choice that we had made to get us in this position. That was us, man. It wasn't them. They didn't have. We put them in that position to hammer us.
Yeah.
You know, they did go by the law. We did break the law. It was what it was. But I think you're always in that position. You're like, poor me. But I got over that. And I like, you know, RC did his prison time. But after that, it prioritized my life in a way of like, am I snowboarding for money? Because I lost everything, man. Like I didn't have shit. I had like one sponsor left. And I was like, am I doing this for money or am I doing it because I love snowboarding? I love being in the mountains. This is my life. This is what I do. And Gooch gave me some amazing advice. He's like, man, don't worry about what everybody else is doing. He's like, just focus on your own program. And man, I quit traveling the world. I focused on being home. I focused on being in Jackson and not leaving Jackson and just like making that my home and saving money because I didn't have the budget to travel anymore, man. I had like, dude, I go to Alaska with 20 G's to like burn on helicopters, which is so like, it's crazy.
Right? Living the dream
I'm
for
rich.
A kid that likes to snowboard.
Check me out, I'm rich.
I'm rich.
Check me out. But I didn't appreciate it, man,
Yeah.
until I lost all that stuff. And it was the best thing that ever happened to my career was losing all that and then really appreciating everything I've curated up back to this point, like getting the sponsors. People that signed me understood my past, and I was always been transparent about like, yo, like I got a checkered past. Like this is the deal. Understanding being in a position of judgment. Like people, like they see your record, man. Like you see 3 felonies on somebody's record, and you're like, what did this dude do? Like, oh, you can't have guns. You can't vote. Like I'm not even a citizen, you know. But I think the gun thing hurts me more than anything. You know that hurts my soul. Just not being able to like do something I love, you know?
Well, let me just say this. Like, you're the first person I've ever met, and I'll have to think about this and make sure I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm 100% sure at this moment you're the first person I've ever met that had their Second Amendment rights stripped away.
Yeah. And I earned it. You know, I earned it. You know, I did that. That was me. But it hurt. And more than it hurting me is like watching how it affects our ranch, you know, like watching, like if you ever have been around a big ranch and a lot of livestock, like things need put down and shot, and to not have that tool as a rancher is like a doctor not having a scalpel. Yeah. And the things I see my brother have to do, it kills me. It hurts my heart because like he cares about his animals more than anybody I know. And like to look something in the eye and cut its throat with a knife, dude, that's personal, man. Like that hurts. And for one instance, like he had this pig he loved, man. He loved this pig, Peaches. It was Peaches' mom. We have Peaches 2 or 3 now. But Peaches' mom, she was just like a family pet, lived under the little shelter out there by the house, and she had a bunch of little piglets, cute little piglets, a bunch of straw, and it was in the winter. And all them little piglets were under there. It was cold. Well, he had a heat lamp in there. And somehow some straw got pushed up against that lamp and started on fire. And that fire started. And he's like, he had to go out there. He saved a couple of the piglets. But he had to like sit there and watch that pig burn and hear it burn. Something that he loved burn because he couldn't put a bullet in it, you know? And like, man, that was tough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like here's one thing I will say is that this story, you can't find a lot of people that are willing to talk like you're talking right now, man. Like, so you got a lot of courage even in this moment. Yeah,
in front of a microphone with headphones on to talk about it. So like it's so folks that are listening to this, you take what you want from it. Mark's lived it, so it doesn't matter. But like at some level, I don't think I could find another person that's willing to sit here, say, I got a felony, and this is what the story was, and this is how I feel, and this is how I got up off the mat.
Yeah, well,
it's a rare thing.
It's been something that I've been ashamed of, you know. It's like the elephant in the room, right? Yeah. Like people are always like, "Oh, what about Carter?" You know, like. But it is what it is, man.
Like that's. Look at where your life is, man. Like,
I mean,
look at where you are.
And that's the thing about this experience is, I wouldn't take it back. As hard, as messed up as it was, like I would not take that back. Because I wouldn't be where I am. I don't even think I'd be a pro snowboarder. Dude, this experience lit a fire in me like I never felt. I was like, oh, prioritize my life and got my shit together and like went after it. Cause I was like, dude, it can be over. Like, boom, I have my freedom. Like I had all these problems before this. And then there was one problem I was worried about. And that was my freedom, man. Like when you have your freedom stripped, when you're like, I'm not free to roam anymore. Like, man, I was like, this is crazy. And I was like, get busy living. And dude, I chased it. But I did it on my terms. I was like, I'm not listening to anybody. I have thicker skin now from taking a beating from those newspapers constantly, seeing that back and forth. And I just look at those.
I mean, they painted you in like a bad light in a lot of them, man. Like,
well, I mean, it's the media, but we talk about the media and the
Wyoming's
negativity.
largest poaching case.
Yeah.
And like they even used a quote in this one. You get down here from one of the investigators. He says, I don't worry, but statistically, it's a pretty dangerous job. Everybody we deal with has a gun. And it's like, they're trying to paint you in a way that's...
Well, they painted us, man. They painted us.
Really.
And, I appreciate, being on this platform, be able to talk about it. Because I honestly, I've never talked about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, like I said, I think when there's a symptom, which a lot of times is very justified. Like the way you're approaching it to me is as understandable as anything. You know your family. You know the people that you are. And when you're telling me this story, I know that you know in your heart, like these are good people. And they did a thing they shouldn't have done. And to be constantly forced to rationalize good people being punished in the way that they were, I know that's a tough thing. And I know you have to say, we deserved it because you broke the law.
I did.
But it's not that simple.
There's layers.
There's layers to it. And I think that's something that I've seen through other folks I've known that have had issues. And the public sphere, people want to knock you down. They want to take you down. And again, I would say, look, if I do something wrong, I hope I approach it the way you did and say, hey, I knew this was wrong and I did it anyway. And now I have to face the consequences and learn from it. Hopefully the consequences are level to the action.
We need to be held accountable. I think it's important, but I think we need to hold our peers accountable, like our friends accountable. And I think nothing ever changes when somebody you don't respect or care about is like attacking you. But when your friends are like speaking to you with honesty, like, yo, dude, that was kind of messed up. Like, you shouldn't do that shit. Like calling you out, like whether it be in your work environment or your personal environment, like I really respect somebody that comes up to me and is like, dude, that's out of line, man. Like, I'm just going to call you out on that. And then you're going to be like, think about that because you respect that person. Like, I think there needs to be more of that and not afraid to like cross that line. Because I think that's a line that needs to be crossed. If somebody's out of line, man, like, they need to be put back in line. This is a core tenet of my lifestyle, like respecting wildlife, respecting the land. Dude. And anybody crosses that line and they're going to hear it, right? And they need to. Right? But as long as they like acknowledge and are accountable, I mean, man, there's room for forgiveness too. That's the beautiful thing about humans.
Well, you've earned it. Like you're sponsored by the North Face, you're sponsored by Yeti, you're sponsored by these companies that have everything to lose by bringing a felon onto their team. And listen, I was there. I worked there. I understand those relationships. Those relationships, it's either it's a zero-sum game. It's very much either it's all good for the company or it's not going to happen. It doesn't continue.
I mean, man, it was crazy, the hate. Like, you couldn't read the comments. Like, people just like, oh, they should all be killed. Like, I mean, crazy. Like, don't read the comments because it's just this no consequence for your actions. Like, if you say that online, this cowardly platform where there's no consequences. And I think that's the problem today is people can just say things. Like, where I grew up, man, like, if you said something to somebody, like there was consequences. There was no running from it. Like you had to stand toe to toe and you're like, did you say that? And that just doesn't happen anymore. Like, man, I had, a couple projects come out and I had people calling my sponsors, government agencies calling my sponsors, telling them after I had paid my dues, done everything that they wanted me to do, I got these guys calling my sponsors and telling them how bad of a guy I am. And getting cut from sponsors because these guys that I just bowed down to and did everything they wanted me to do still had the power and control over my career. And that pissed me off. I was like, whoa. We're not done here? Like we're still going to do this? Like I have no leverage and there was nothing I could do, but I just took it, man. I just watched these sponsors fall off they're just like, there goes some more revenue. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. What more do you want from me, you know?
Yeah. Did you feel at any moment that maybe this wasn't redeemable? Like maybe you couldn't get it back? Was there ever like a low moment where you're like, dude, I may never.
I guess if I didn't, it got to where I didn't care if I got all that back. I just wanted to continue to live the life that I believed in. And that was where I found freedom. And then it all came kind of back around. You know, I gave up the paychecks. I gave up like caring, chasing whatever the industry told me I needed to do, because I was a controversial subject within the snowboard industry. Everybody's kind of like, Carter over here, he's some poaching redneck from Wyoming, and of course they would like generalize me into that box. They didn't know that, you know, my past, you know, and I think that's a dangerous thing. So when all these things are going down in our society and all these things, like I can kind of relate to some things, you know. I know what it's like to be stripped of your freedoms. I know what it's like to be just no control, just zero control. But it's like how you respond to this. Like, am I going to make this my identity? Am I going to be a victim here? Or am I just going to be like, I'm going to use that shit as fuel, man. I'm going to like stand up. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to like my mentality was like, I want to, anybody that hated and like called me and tried to like hold me down, I'm going to show them in like 5 years that like they were all wrong. Here I am. Like everybody's like, Carter's temporary, man. Like snowboard industry. I was already like an underdog with like my background. Nobody was a rancher in snowboarding. Like it wasn't cool, dude. Like it was not cool. They're like, this dude, what's this kook over here? And I was like, listen, I grew up in the mountains. I grew up in the nature. Like this is my shit. And I'm going to show you guys this is my shit. And I live it every day. I live it in the dirt. I live in the mountains. I live in the winter. And yeah, man, I just trying to like keep that going.
Look, like in a lot of ways, our society functions on stories, right? And as somebody who writes stories and thinks about stories and how to tell stories, you don't tell a story that doesn't have a triumph in it. It doesn't have an ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a protagonist and an antagonist. You don't tell a good story. You don't tell a flat, happy story to people to compel them. You don't turn on Netflix and watch somebody's happy life. You watch people go through shit and be imperfect and come out of it, and that's what makes life compelling, right?
I mean, man, like that suffering and just that hurt and like that's so. It sucks at the time, but man, that's the best thing for you. That builds character. Yeah, I got a lot of character.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're not gonna. Yeah, you're not.
It's from a beating, dude. Yeah, it's a beating. But but my dad, like, you know, I think it comes back to the ranch, man. Like, it wasn't my first beating. Maybe it was like that, and it was like traumatic, but it was not my first beating. I was like, okay, this is what we do. But I mean, it prioritized my family and made me appreciate everything I have. I was like, listen, I could lose all this shit tomorrow. As long as I do lose my freedom and as long as I have my family, it's going to be all good. Yeah. You know? So everything past that's been a bonus. So it's like, it's like good, dude.
Well, it's like after taking all that time trying to battle just to understand, like, all right, am I going to have freedom? And then like maybe achieving the ultimate freedom afterwards, knowing that like, here's the real priority. Like I had to face certain prison.
That's a weird thought, dude.
I was just saying, like, I know I've been hanging out with you, dude. You're a normal dude. You're a good dude. Like, and you were facing prison time from the federal government, man. You know, and
they were pissed, man. They're pissed.
And look, again, I know how it is in our community, in the hunting community. People are rightly stripped of things when they do things wrong. They're rightly. So if I if I did what you did, I'd be stripped of a lot of things, right? And rightfully so. And as you were. But there's always a but to it. People don't deserve to get erased from the planet.
No, we can move on. Like if people are, like I say, accountable and understand, like they admit their guilt. They stand up and they stand there and like, this is what I did, man. Like, well, why not forgive? Like,
oh, and here you are right now, sitting here in this moment. How many years have gone by? Not that many.
Man, it's like, I think I got sentenced in 2012.
8 years.
8 years, man. Sucks not having guns though. It's bullshit.
And that's, you have to get a presidential pardon, correct?
I think so. I mean,
you don't have any hope that might.
I don't know, man. Like I can't even vote, dude. I ain't gonna talk to the president.
You just feel like that's it, man. That's the way it's gonna be.
Well, I've accepted it, you know. And if like something changed, that would be amazing. I would love to see my old man and my brother get our guns back. But dude, like honestly, archery, like being able to hunt, like that was the first time when Dudley took me out last spring with that new bow he built me and took me to Oklahoma, and I hunted hogs with him, and I shot a boar. Like I didn't realize how much I missed that and how much that meant to me, and he never judged me. He didn't look at me like I was this tarnished human being. He just was like, "Oh yeah, man, like you're cool." Like it's just, you know, it was like to go and get back into hunting and be out there. It was like such kind of like a rejuvenating thing for me.
Was that something you were kind of worried about?
Dude, I was so worried about that.
Like even after your rights came back and you could go hunting again, or was it something you just avoided because
judgment, man?
Yeah.
Like who wants to be judged? Who wants to be judged, especially in the hunting community? I mean, this is like a controversial topic, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, that guy sucks.
There's a lot of people who get mad at me,
I
get that, and I've had, like I said, I've had experiences, and we were talking about this. We were hunting, man. It's just like people. And I hate to generalize like this, but like there is a portion of people that want to knock folks down and keep them down. And listen, I get the anger. I get that I'm doing it the right way, and this guy didn't.
Yeah.
How we should never celebrate him again. I get that feeling, but I met you, and I know you, and I'm talking to you, and I'm seeing you sit across from me, like bearing everything for what? You don't. There's nothing for you to gain from sitting here talking to me.
No.
There's nothing.
No.
And so, but yet you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so that shows character.
Yeah, I mean, I got lots of it.
I can look at it, like, no matter what you've done or what I've done, or definitely what Joe's done for guard holing us this week. Like, we're not going to judge him for that.
Go kicking rocks.
But I think like when you can look at somebody and they can say to you, "Listen, man, this is my story. This is my life. This is what I did. I fucked up. It's awful."
Yeah.
But then you can laugh with them and learn about their life and their successes and the other things in their life that balance out the shit. What's more like human? What's more,
man? It's
relatable in some sense.
I agree. I mean, everybody's faced their hardships, whatever degree that may be. But it's like, gosh, stand up, man. Like, don't let them keep you down. They want to keep you down. It's the easiest thing to do. Like, but people, I understand, man. Like, people are pissed.
Yeah.
People are pissed at, like, what's going on. People want to, like, they don't know what to do. They're just, like, lost, man. It's like, you know, what you could do is just, like, be kind. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Think about what they're thinking, why they think that way. Respect one another, you know, like help your neighbor. Like if somebody doesn't, you know, if there's like complete opposite, so diverse in this world, like help them. If you don't think they'd like you, that's more of the reason to go up and be like, "Hey man, how you doing? Smile. How you doing today, man?" Like, doesn't cost a penny to be nice, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, for you to go through all that, you know, and again, it's like going through it as a term. You went through it, it happened to you. You did something wrong. You got pinched. You took it.
Here you go.
And then come out on the other end and be like, pay your dues and come out on the other end like, hey, positivity's the way, and not like, fuck the government, you know? Like,
hey, man.
I don't hear you saying that.
What are you going to do, man? It's positivity, you know? And like, that generalizing thing, like, is dangerous. Like, there's bad eggs in every carton. But to say one carton is bad just because of what they are, like, that's not right. I mean, I think there's great people in the government.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that care in the government. Are there people that don't care? And are there some duds? Yeah. Lots of them. But, like, man, we're all human, dude. Like, whatever position you are, it's just like seeing each other as humans, you know, and just like acknowledging that. We're all on the same team, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, no matter what, no matter what else it is, no matter what else your like life and story is, what you just told is powerful. Like, no matter what it is other than that, it's powerful. People, if you really listen to it and take it in, Mark's sitting here just bearing all this and laying all this out there, man. I wish Peaches had a better end.
Yeah, it was a bad deal. But I mean, that's one thing too. Back about to the ranch, it's like, man, like nothing new about death. Like death is That's the only guarantee. Like, we're all going to die. Like, animals die. Like, being on the ranch, like, understanding that. And that's really, like, what made me, I don't want to die, man. But I ain't afraid of it. I do not fear that. You know, I will, like, do things. I don't ever make any decisions based upon, is it dangerous? I was like, yeah, it's dangerous. It kind of makes it fun. But I don't have a death wish. And I don't want to die. But, I mean, I'm not going to, like, go around scared of dying. Because, dude, hopefully it happens quick. It's like lights out. But I mean, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, man.
I don't know.
Like I said, this is one of those times where, you know, it's not a lot I can say other than thanks for sharing that stuff.
Hey, man. Pleasure.
Thanks for choosing this. Thanks for choosing this place. And
hey, thanks for taking me bear hunting.
Dude, anytime, dude. You come back. You still have a bear tag for this fall.
I do.
We know that.
I'd love to come back, man. Get some meat.
You're welcome anytime, man. Because it is doesn't have to be bears either. It can be anything.
Do something. Something will happen.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a fucking blast.
That was a blast. That was good.
That was fun.
Huh.
Like when we just hiked and sat around. We met an older couple that
They
were
were so nice.
So nice to us. They were asking us all kinds of crazy questions. Hey, there was an older guy who was a hunter, like quote unquote hunter, had hunted before with guides and things, and then his wife, who was completely and utterly clueless to what was going on. And she's like, "How do you get a bear out? How do you shoot it with a bow more than once?"
I love when people are interested in something they know nothing about, and I think that's how we should be, man. We just like you know, answer them with a smile. Don't look at them like this pretentious look, like you're dumb. Be like, hey, oh yeah, you're interested. Here you go. That's the first step.
Yeah, man.
Like understanding. She wants to understand, man,
and appreciate.
It's great.
Right? And I'll tell you what, man. Flat out, totally honest.
Boom.
Look in the eye. Your appreciation for life is infectious.
Yeah.
Joe would agree.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I'm telling you, dude.
100%.
When you've seen death a lot, like you appreciate that life thing.
Oh yeah.
And especially like the existential, like your social life and the way you're seen in your industry and how hard you work to gain a standing and having that, you know, just wrecked for reasons that you caused.
Yeah.
Like, It's
Appreciate
it. So.
Life is good.
Times,
Life
man.
is good.
Anyway, like I'm glad you told that story. Yeah. I'm glad you came here. We had a good time, man. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy dude. You got a lot going on.
Yeah.
All I want from you is to get some meat now. Get some of that Carter Country beef.
We'll make it happen, man.
That's
make
all
it
I
happen.
need.
Carter Country Meats.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Hell yes.
That's it. That's all. Another episode in the books. Thanks for hanging with us. It's a little longer than normal, but like an incredibly powerful story all the way around from our Carter. It was emotional, man. After I wanted to give that dude a hug after we recorded because it took some courage for him to sit down and go into that detail of that story. It's not, man. Let me just say it this way. I'm glad that he came here. I'm glad that he opened up. I'm glad that he told his side of the story, and I'm glad that we're all able to take that in and learn from it. I think of all the things we've done, 131 episodes, I think his story is the most unique and the most impactful that I have heard. And really, when I started this podcast, I just wanted to share people's stories and perspectives so we could all get the idea of what this collective hunting community is all about. And I think what Mark is able to do is so unique. Because you're not going to find Phil and Joe. You're not going to find someone just to tell you their story about how they're a convicted felon and a convicted poacher. Most people that have that happen to them, they either get punished or they get off, and then they never talk about it again because it ain't great PR, especially for somebody like Mark who's out in the public sphere. So it's a rare occurrence to get somebody like that that's brave enough to sit down and just rip out a story like that. I want to repeat this because I think it's important. It's something that it's like looking into a mirror. Like what people around you. I've had friends, very close friends. In fact, it was one of my very best friend's birthday yesterday. He's dead. He's been dead for, I think, 6 or 7 years now. He died of an overdose of heroin. But he was like my brother growing up, and he's not around anymore. And he did some terribly irredeemable shit on his way out the door. Stealing, fighting, all kinds of things during his addiction. And boy, some stuff that society probably wouldn't give him a break for. And so now I'm left, like, he's not here anymore, and I'm left to kind of decide whether I'm going to forgive him or what it means that he's gone, and those are the things he did in his last days, months, years on the earth. And so there's just take a look in the mirror, think about it, and then when you're moving around the world, whether you're on the internet or you're not, think about it. Think about what people deserve. Think about your own imperfections. Think about the imperfections of the people around you. And hopefully that'll allow you to have compassion for just about anyone in the right situation. Again, there are certain people that just do things that are flat out evil and they don't deserve it. But there are plenty more people that do. So that's it. See you next week, 132. Say bye, Phil.
Goodbye.
Too long, 'cause I can't go a week without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Drinking in heaven.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.